The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
After the roster was reduced to 53, a couple of surprises, twists and turns. We get into all of those, including their practice squad.
They asked who's the most overrated player, quarterback in the NFL. And the answer, the winner, was Josh Allen.
Mike Danger.
That actually doesn't surprise me a whole awful lot because you're on the cover of Madden, but you haven't won any. You haven't gotten to the Super Bowl. You can't get over on Mahomes. And these guys talk. They all know. And so maybe some of what he presents as could be viewed by his peers as fraudulent.
Gene Battaglia.
Wow.
That deserves a wow.
Wow.
Yeah?
Wow. That's shocking to me. That is absolute shock. Or maybe it's just, hey, Gene, wake up. Okay, this, in a secret way, this is actually great for the Bills.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Hey, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome on into the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're with us. Thanks for listening along locally at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Outside of Rochester, easy to listen in the free-to-download Odyssey app or your smart device when you ask it to play. 95.7 The Fan. Our video stream is up and rolling for you. You can watch the Sports Bar, The Fan Rochester, on YouTube and on Twitch. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
Yeah, the shocking news from yesterday in that open was, wait a second, the NFLPA named Josh Allen the most overrated quarterback in the league. And when we heard that come across, like, well, as it kind of sinks in a little bit, like, okay, whatever, we kind of move on.
Yeah. It was what you predicted, though. It was a story that a lot of national talking heads gravitated towards. And when you break it down, what was it, a survey of like just over 100 players? And
it was 11 of them saying
yeah.
this. 11 people had the opinion, and now it's a lead story.
Yeah.
And the story's not going to be over because once Josh Allen's in front of the microphone, and like these things kind of take on a life of their own. What is more shocking, that or who did not make the Bills practice squad?
Okay, a couple of things here. One, if you think the Josh Allen being overrated by the NFL Players Association poll is one thing, I have something that I was going to share later this afternoon that Bills fans might find to be the kiss of death on this season. I'll explain later on this hour. But let's get to that. Let's get to that practice squad because when word started coming out yesterday that Mike White had worked out for the Buffalo Bills, I'm like, well, I guess that makes sense. Matt Milano's on injured reserve, so we can't haunt him anymore.
Yeah. It took me a half second. That is like one of the greatest hits in Bills history.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, like people would say Stratton, okay, we weren't alive for Keith Stratton back in the 1960s.
No, he snatched the soul of Mike White on that hit.
Completely legal, too.
Yeah.
Completely legal. Nothing dirty about it.
Right.
So Mike White on the practice squad, which means for now, Ben DiNucci is out there.
Of course Ben DiNucci's out there. You know why he's out there. Because he's Italian.
He'll be back. We'll always remember the few weeks we had with Ben DiNucci. My dream of meeting Ben DiNucci at training camp.
Yeah.
I guess it'll have to kind of wait on that.
Benny Cutlets.
All right, I'm going to read the names here, and these names should not surprise anybody. They're names you're familiar with, and the Bills, like most teams, when they had the camp, well, this is the team we want to take into the season. Well, for the most part, here we go. Running back Frank Gore Jr., wide receiver Dean Cain, wide receiver KJ Hamler, wide receiver Tyrell Shavers. Zach Davidson is back, the tight end. Offensive lineman Richard Garage, Will Clapp, Mike Edwards, the offensive lineman. On the D-line, Kingsley Jonathan, Cameron Klein, Eli Anku, Branson Dean, corner Daquan Hardy and Corey Couch, and the safety, I believe 15 years for Kareem Jackson. Who didn't make it, or who has yet to make it?
Oh. Ooh. Whoa. Is there a negotiation going on with Sean McDermott and Gable Steveson? Is there a way that we can get the former gold medalist wrestler, heavyweight wrestler, on the practice squad?
This is my read on it. This is Brandon Beane's domain, is it not? Like, he could take, but there comes a point like, okay, is he helping you win games, or can he do things on his own away from the team? It's not like there's another team saying, let's go get Gable Steveson on the practice squad. Was that Beane saying to McDermott, yeah, no, we're not going to continue here?
I was shocked at training camp to see that for as big a guy as Gable Steveson is, he was very undersized for that position. Next to his teammates, he didn't look the part. He might have great technique. His hands might be spectacular. He might have all of the tricks of how to get leverage on an opponent from his time as a wrestler. But I couldn't get past his size. He just wasn't big enough, I think, to play defensive tackle
but
in
still
the NFL.
a big man. But when you're walking next to some guy like Spencer Brown, you realize, not only are these great athletes, these are
even next to
of men.
Daquan Jones, who he'd line up against, right, or line up next to. It's like, no, he just doesn't look the same size. He doesn't look like he's playing the same sport. That doesn't mean that there's not a future for him playing football. I just don't think it's in the NFL. That's surprising, I guess. But everything else kind of checks out. I mean, doesn't it feel like we go through this exercise every year, Gino, where we wonder, is there going to be a player that gets claimed by another team? We were doing it yesterday. Like, I don't know. Frank Gore Jr., somebody might claim him. Shavers, somebody might go. No, you get your guys.
No, and for the record, the Bills did not claim anybody off waivers, and no one was claimed. So the idea, if you put Joe Andreessen out there, but you actually might need Andreessen week 1. But when you have Balin Spector healthy once again, does Andreessen go to the practice squad? That's what I would kind of figure. Not to rain on anybody's parade out in Buffalo, but this is a team right now, Danger, that I'm still going to say this, I don't think they're done. Remember, waiver claims, if you're a veteran, that veteran is allowed to figure out where they want to go. So will the Bills be tinkering with the 53 between now and the Friday, say, before the Arizona game? Of course they will. I don't expect this to be the final 53.
We've got a great show lined up for you today. We're going to get into the sports, gaming, and fantasy world with our guests joining us. And we got a big announcement to make about the programming you hear here on the Fan Rochester as part of the BetQL network. You're familiar with BetMGM Tonight every weeknight here on the Fan Rochester. A little shake-up and a new lineup for BetMGM Tonight. Our buddy Ryan Horvat stays on. He'll be hosting alongside one of our favorites in the sports bar, a name that I think a lot of you are familiar with. We've had him on in the past. The Big Noise. Brad Evans.
Brad Evans, when I heard this, excellent. And so it's not a pivot on BetMGM Tonight, but I think they recognize, that, hey, it's fun to talk about the lines. It's fun to talk about parlays and things in real time and to debate the lines, but there's this whole other audience that loves fantasy sports. So if you can kind of splash that in there a little bit, and that's kind of my understanding, Danger, and Evans will be on with us to kind of describe how the show's going to go here. But Brad Evans is an addition to BetMGM Tonight. That's fantastic. And since he's a friend of the show, we got to have him on today.
Love both of those guys. Extremely enthusiastic and happy that they're being paired together for BetMGM Tonight, which you'll be able to hear on the Fan Rochester. I believe their first day is next week. I think they start Tuesday of next week, if I'm not mistaken. We'll get clarity on that from Brad Evans, and we'll get some fantasy talk. We'll talk some sports gambling with him as well. Brad Evans, now of BetMGM Tonight, here on the Fan Rochester, stops by at 4:25. And later this hour, joining us here in less than 20 minutes, the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network. It's Wednesday. That means the Glass Man stops by. Odyssey Sports Betting Insider PJ Glasser, Insider Calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app.
Danger, it was 5 years ago. I was out in Vegas around this time. It was actually week 0, so it wasn't this exact week. But I remember just, what long shots can I do for fun here? What could I do when it comes to the Heisman? And then I look back at it. Nobody knew the name of Joe Burrow. That was the year he won at LSU.
Oh, wow. And
the odds would have been fantastic. And had I actually maybe done some homework ahead of time, maybe that could have.
What fun is that?
What fun is that?
Preparing? No, just set your money on fire. Why not?
Well, for anybody that, that's a fun thing here. Well, who are the favorites? Who does PJ Glasser? He broke it down on his show today. Heisman, because I haven't even thought of that. But my gosh, Saturday, full college football action.
Dude, they've been running promos on ESPN and talking about their lineup and the games that they're going to be airing. And I see these matchups, and I'm salivating. My mouth is watering. I can't wait. And look, for me, college football has always been secondary to pro football. I always love watching the NFL and will make more time for watching the NFL. But this weekend, the college football slate is exquisite. I'll be spending a lot of time in the Garagio, the Italian living room.
Well, a friend of the show here, Thor Nystrom.
Ah, that's our guy.
40th birthday today.
Oh, no kidding.
And it's funny because we just brought this up yesterday. Like, we got on the topic of Mike Gundy and his hair and everything. Like, hey, I'm 40. Well, yeah. Hey, look, he's a man now. Thor Nystrom's a man, 40.
You can come after him.
Yeah. It's not Saturday, Danger, because Thor, like, hey, Thor, would you be able to come on our show Thursday to talk a little college football? He's like, Gene, I'd love to, but I'm going to be tailgating for UNC Minnesota. Oh, my gosh. Yes, that's right. We get that tomorrow night. We don't have to wait till Saturday.
That's right. Yeah. Fun weekend of college football ahead. That lineup is ridiculous. So we'll get PJ's take on some of those games as well. Let's see if we can get some winners, make a little cash on the side here with PJ Glasser of Send It In on the BetQL Network. He stops by at 3:25. You can engage with us on Elon's Twitter. That's X, at the Fan Rochester. Our phone lines are always open for you at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. And I'm going to go a little off script here, Gene, because normally we don't talk about any emails that we get. But to be truthful, like one of our regulars, if not our greatest regular, the greatest listener of all time, the self-glossed greatest listener of all time, Chris in South Central Kentucky, really connected with us via email. Well, we're not hard to find on email. I'm Mike.Danger@Odyssey. You're Gene.Battaglia@Odyssey.
That's right. But if you send us an email, understand that we're in the middle of a live show and, well, our producer isn't looking at the email quite often.
That's right.
We're not being rude if we don't read your email. It's because...
Well, you might be big-timing them, but I'm certainly going to get to it in my...
Yeah, I've been known to do that. Yes, yeah, we might not. It's that we're looking at X. We're keeping our eye on the ball here on the air. Those are the two ways that we can kind of interact with you the best here on the show. But
I got an email. Yeah, I got an email from a listener. This is from Sean in Long Island. The subject line says, promotion from the peasantry. By the way, that'll get my attention. A subject line like that, okay, I know that this is sports bar related. He writes, guys, I've been listening to your show in the Odyssey app for a while now. Really appreciate the job you do each day. I'm a Rochesterian living in Long Island and hear you talk about the regulars often. Pete the pollster, Greg, Chris, and South Central Kentucky. I'm unable to get home often with my job and family, and I know your listeners like to have fun with you guys when you're out or on the air. Social media isn't for me, so I won't be reaching out on X either. I can't shower you guys with gifts, but I did want to send you something I made in your honor with the hopes of being elevated from the peasantry to a sports bar regular. I hope you enjoy the long weekend. Cheers, boys. Keep up the great work. Now, there's a file attached to this, and I haven't listened to it yet. It's an MP3 file, and I haven't listened to it yet.
Wow.
I've got the delay.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got your finger on the delay here?
Delay ready to go. I have no idea what this is. This is Sean from Long Island who emailed us with something that he said he made in our honor. This is the MP3. We're hearing it for the first time here on the Sports Bar.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfit. Clueless to the title of the biggest bus hits. Chuck Muncie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. Yeah. Well, this is Rochester, cute Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Alan. Of course he married Sandy, because she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Wow. 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 Do we have a theme song? Gene, do we have a theme song?
Sorry, I didn't catch it all, though. I'm like, it was going, my mind is like it's going from joke to joke to joke. What's his name? Sean in Long Island.
Sean in Long Island.
Sean, how did we not know of Sean in Long Island before today?
He's been listening for a while, he says, and he just came up with our theme song, I think. I mean, he hit pretty much every note, right? We got, I think, he called you a social misfit?
He got Mr. Mayo, a
Mr.
Chuck
Mayo,
Muncie
Chuck
reference.
Muncie.
He didn't get masterstroke. So it is telling me that, Sean, it's an A+, but I'm saying that is, how far back does this go? Maybe 2 years on the show?
Let's see.
Yeah, because masterstroke left.
I mean, in recent months, we've spent more time talking about Chuck Muncie. We've spent more time talking about Mr. Mayo now that he's the head coach. Let's face it. I mean, we weren't doing the Italian thing until Tommy Cutlets last season. So
when Newt shows up.
Yeah. So maybe that is that. So, yeah, I'll say Sean maybe has really picked up the ball and run with it here, listening to the Sports Bar over the course of the last 12 to 24 months. That's impressive work, dude. That's impressive work. I don't even know what to say, except I think we have a theme song, Gene. And if you're looking for a promotion from the peasantry, Sean, you got it, buddy. You're right up there in the upper echelon. That's amazing work.
We should use that every day. I mean, so, Danger, I want to hear that again. I
got it right here.
Okay.
You ready? Here we go.
Let's do it.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfit. Clueless to the title of the biggest buskeg hits. Chuck Muncie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, cute Francesa.
Oh, kiss.
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Alan. Of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Woo! That's hot.
Oh my gosh! Like, okay, so Sean, obviously, see, I have questions here. He's got to have a Rochester background if he's listening to the show because, dude, I want to buy that guy a beer. That is fantastic what he put together.
Yeah. Well, he said in his email he's a Rochesterian who's been in Long Island, family, not able to get back as often as he would like. Let's see, I'm a Rochesterian living in Long Island. I hear you talk about your regulars often. I'm unable to get home often with my job and family. I know your listeners like to have fun with you guys when you're out or on the air. Social media isn't for me, so I won't be reaching out on X either. Well, don't worry, Sean. We can relay these messages to you from the regulars on X. Mentioned some of them. Greg, Chuck Munchia pet on X. Shout out to Sean. I loved that. Love. Chris in South Central Kentucky. Sean from Long Island to the elite listeners of the Sports Bar, and it's a gif of a wrestler coming down with an elbow from the top rope. Fantastic. That's fantastic work, Sean. I don't know if we can say thank you enough, but I think we have a theme song now, courtesy of Sean from Long Island, one of our regulars. And that's what we get for checking our email. We check our email. We connect with guys like Chris from South Central Kentucky and Sean from Long Island. Chris, who gives us beers and bourbons, and Sean, who gives us theme songs. So, yeah, email us anytime. We're not hard to find.
Look, and I don't know who could top that, but you're welcome to try.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a music producer, if you're I don't know. That was amazing. Sean must be in a creative field. Maybe he makes maybe he does jingles for a living or something.
That's probably it.
That's pretty good. Thanks, Sean. Really appreciate that. Brad Evans, BetMGM tonight, stopping by the Sports Bar. Next hour, coming up next, we check in with PJ Glasser. He's the host of Send It In on the BetQL network. We've got final 53-man rosters set around the NFL. We can talk to PJ about some week 1 plays. We can talk about some futures, but this weekend is about college football, man. We're about those futures. We're about some week 1 action. We'll get some winners from PJ when he stops by the sports bar next on the Fan Rochester.
Buffalo Bills have brought back to the practice squad. Also on the practice squad, the quarterback, Mike White, the former Jet and Dolphin. Here's GM Brandon Bean.
I'm excited that we were able to get Mike. You never know how it's going to turn out, where guys are going to land, and we recruited him hard to get him on this P squad. And, Mitch is still working his way back. Truly unknown yet whether Mitch will be ready to play week 1. So it's great we get Mike in here now.
College football is back. PJ Glasser from BetQL will join us next year in the Sports Bar. Wings lost the opener in Scranton. Same 2 teams tonight in Eastern PA. On the Major League scoreboard, Paul Skeens, 2 earned runs in 5 innings, 6 strikeouts. Pirates are up on the Cubs 10-5 in the 8th. Royals are up on the Guardians 5-3 in the 8th. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Feels like we've been waiting forever, but finally tomorrow. Well, actually, we had some week 0 action last week, but this feels real. Now it feels real. Football is back. College football lineup gets underway for the long holiday weekend tomorrow, and PJ Glasser, the host of BetQL's Send It In, stops by the Sports Bar now to give us some winners for this weekend. Insider calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. PJ, Happy New Year.
Guys, Happy New Year. Excited that it's here, man. I really am. It's going to be a great season, obviously. We got the new college football playoff. Everybody's so excited for that. And all the, games that we're going to get. I can't wait for the on-campus site games that we're going to get in that first round. Like, just thinking about maybe like LSU traveling to Ohio State, or, maybe Oregon getting to travel to Notre Dame, whatever it may be. It's going to be an awesome season, guys. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, and it begins tomorrow night as, boy, we get some action tomorrow night here, PJ. I don't know what is jumping out to you, but tomorrow night we're all going to be watching Coach Prime, where you think this is a layup, but it's North Dakota State. So, yeah, the Buffs favored by 10 here. What I'm looking at, Utah, that's an interesting team. They're at home against Southern Utah. So let's start with the action tomorrow night, PJ. Anything jumping out at you?
Yeah, so there are 2 games, Gene. That Colorado-North Dakota State game is really interesting, right? Obviously, anytime Colorado plays, especially if it's in kind of a standalone window, they're always going to garner attention. The public is usually going to bet them. North Dakota State, if you've really followed FCS football, you know that they're kind of the team that's ran FCS football for the last decade. They're not afraid of any team in Division I college football. Obviously, the Buffs got Shadur Sanders coming back. They got Travis Hunter. I think this is a game where a lot of people are actually probably going to think that North Dakota State pulls off the upset, but I like Colorado. They went into the transfer portal this year. We know they did that last year, but they did it again this year. Coach Prime's starting to beef up both lines of scrimmage a little bit. I think Colorado rolls, so I like them -10 in that game. And then also I like North Carolina on the money line tomorrow, -125 against Minnesota. Guys, for like the entire summer, the Golden Gophers were favored by like 2.5. And in the last couple of days, we started to see some line movement. Minnesota's got a couple of injuries. Their running back might not play tomorrow night. Obviously, the Tar Heels got to replace production on offense. That starts with Drake May. Max Johnson, who's been in college football a long time. He was at LSU. He was at Texas A&M. He takes over as the quarterback for North Carolina. Something that's very profitable in college football, and if people want to keep track of this stuff kind of throughout the week when you're handicapping games, teams that start out the week as underdogs and then end the week as favorites when the game kicks off, they tend to be pretty profitable. So UNC falls under that. So couple of favorites tomorrow, fellas. Give me Colorado -10, and then I'll take UNC -125 as well.
And I'm just looking ahead to the long holiday weekend and college football getting underway tomorrow night. But we've got action Friday night. We've got action Saturday, Sunday, Monday. PJ, I don't want to try to give a game that you may or may not have any action on. So do you have a play every night this upcoming weekend here for college football that we can kind of tap into?
Oh, of course I do, Danger. I mean, I'm a sicko. I live for this stuff, guys. I'm a degenerate. I'm for the people. We got Georgia and Clemson on Saturday at noon, guys. I really like this game. A couple ways I'm attacking it. I'd lay the 13.5 with Georgia. I know it's been a long, long time since Dabo and company have been this big an underdog, but I think it's for good reason. We all know about Dabo not willing to dabble in the transfer portal, right? Georgia's the number one team in the country. I think they're going to win the national championship this year. They're obviously the team that you kind of draw parallels to with Bama when they were going through their dynasty with Nick Saban. And if you look at the last 4 years, Georgia's had two marquee games to open up the year in the last 4 years. They played Oregon when Dan Lanning was starting his coaching career. Georgia won that game 49-3. And then these two teams, Georgia and Clemson, played in 2021, and Georgia won that game 10-3. Nick Saban and Alabama's teams, guys, when they were rolling, whenever they would play a good team in week one, they played Michigan, they played USC, Wisconsin, whatever it may be, those games were always lopsided, and the other team really had a tough time scoring. Remember, in college football, there's no preseason, as we know. So I take a lot of stock in the coaching, and nobody's obviously better than Kirby. There's a reason why his defenses don't give up much in week one, because they're so well prepared. They're usually so much better than the other side of the ball. I think they're out to make a statement with how their season ended, losing in the SEC championship game, not even getting a chance to go to the college football playoff. And if Florida State showed us anything about the ACC, I don't know if Cade Klubnik's really going to turn this thing around. Like the same quarterback that we've been seeing the last 3 years. I think Klubnik's going to be the same. So I like Georgia minus 13.5. And when that Clemson team total under comes out, I think it's going to be like 15.5, 16.5. I take that under as well.
PJ Glasser, host of Send It In on the BetQL network. PJ, you might have known this question was going to be coming your way, but normally we're not getting excited about Syracuse football. But wait a second. McCord is there, the former Ohio State quarterback, new head coach. Heck, it's like a new stadium, the Dome, the complete renovation that people are excited to check out. The Orange favored by 17.5 against Ohio. Is that a comfortable lay the points, or are you staying away from that?
Guys, this might be the only time this happens all year, but Syracuse might be my favorite play of week one. I love them. Minus 17.5. Love them. Ohio is maybe the team that I was looking forward to fading the most in week one. It's not necessarily a play on Syracuse as it is a fade on Ohio. Bobcats lost as much as any team in the transfer portal this season. And, Gene, as you alluded to, I mean, Syracuse, they gained quite a bit. Obviously, a new head coach. McCord comes over from Ohio State. They added more guys on both sides of the ball. So I'm getting a team in Syracuse. And in these couple of years that we've seen, guys, teams that really add to their roster in the transfer portal and teams that don't add tend to either have success early on or don't have success. So it's just one of these perfect games where I'm getting a Syracuse team that did a lot to improve their roster in the offseason and an Ohio team that really lost a ton. So it is a big number. Don't know if I'm going to be on the Cuse much this season, guys, but it just so happens that I absolutely love them this week. One of my favorite plays. I would bet them lay the 17.5.
In that same window, Saturday afternoon, the 3:30 kickoff in the Swamp, Florida hosting the Hurricanes, the U. PJ, Miami, 2.5-point favorites on BetQL. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, guys, this is going to be a good one, right? The Canes, I mean, this is their year. They've only won double-digit games once in the last 20 years, and we know they were the team in the late 90s, early 2000s, and this is year 3 for Mario Cristobal. He's got a great quarterback in Cam Ward this year. Another team, much like Syracuse, that upgraded big time in the offseason. Washington last year, we know they made it to the national championship game. They were one of the teams that boosted their roster the most in the offseason. And I think if there's one team people are looking at this year that maybe could be this year's Washington, people think it could be Miami. And if it is, it would have to start on Saturday at the Swamp. They're both lines of scrimmage. The Canes are really good. Defensive front four, offensive line. Cam Ward, the quarterback, as I mentioned. They got Damian Martinez, the running back out of Oregon State. It's not a game I want to bet at the original number just because it feels like Miami might be a little too easy at minus 2.5. What I am going to do, guys, is I'm going to wait to bet this game live. It just feels like with these two teams and these two fan bases and how badly both of these teams need this game, it's just going to be one of those games that comes right down to the end. So I'm hoping that maybe one of these teams gets up double digits. Maybe we get one of these teams plus 7.5, and that's how I'm going to bet it. My lean, if I had to pick, I would take the Canes, but I think the much better bet is just waiting to bet the game live, seeing if one of these teams gets up 2 scores and then betting the other side.
PJ, not all these matchups are great. We get this every year where you're going to have a Power 5 school against some school that is collecting a paycheck and happy to be there. And these lines, I don't know from a betting standpoint, what the philosophy should be here. Like tonight, Kansas favored by 45 over Lindenwood. Okay, no, like Lindenwood, happy to be there. Southern Utah, they're getting 38 points. I mean, do you need more examples? Tennessee is giving 38.5 Saturday to Chattanooga. Are there any spreads one way or the other that are really big that you think we could take advantage of? What would be your advice?
Yeah, Gene, it's a good question. I mean, really, when it comes to big spreads, the things I normally look for are either look-ahead spots or maybe letdown spots in the case of Georgia Tech, right? I mean, they're a 3-touchdown favorite. They're coming back from Ireland after a huge upset win over Florida State. They're 21.5-point favorites against Georgia State. Like, what are they going to look like, right? Are they still going to be feeling good about the performance that they put together last week, a team that really hasn't had much success like that in recent years? Or are they going to flip the page and build off of that and continue to roll? So those are things I look for. And then look-ahead spots, like I said, next week in week 2 of college football, we do have some good matchups, the biggest one being Texas and Michigan. Both of those teams, huge favorites. Texas is 32.5-point favorites against Colorado State. Michigan is minus 21 against Fresno State. Obviously, Michigan's replacing a ton with McCarthy and Corum and Harbaugh and all those kinds of things. So, Gene, there's not a game I've really bet yet involving a big spread, but just throughout the season, those are usually the kind of things that I look for is look-ahead spots, let-down spots, because especially early on in the season, guys, there's so much guessing with the era of the portal, too, about how good these teams are, what their rating should be. Over the next couple weeks, you're going to see spreads that maybe in the look-ahead lines are going to change by like 7 or 8 points, and those are where you can take advantage. So week 1, it's a little bit tougher, but next week, week 3, when we're looking at these games again and we've kind of gotten some data points from these teams, we might get some good spots to maybe sell on these teams. Maybe we're overvaluing them because we thought they'd be one thing entering the season, and then after a couple games, the perception around them completely changes.
He's PJ Glasser, the host of BetQL's Send It In. You can hear it in the free-to-download Odyssey app wherever you get your shows, and that includes Twitch and YouTube. We've got a lot of Irish fans that listen to the show, PJ, and they're traveling to Texas A&M for a matchup in primetime on Saturday night. Texas A&M, really good home team last year. Notre Dame getting 3 points. Do you have a lean on this game?
This is the game I'm most excited for, guys, in week 1, right? I mean, the storylines, I can't remember a time we've ever had this where Texas A&M, Mike Elko takes over in his first year as head coach, and who does he face in his first game is the quarterback that he had in Durham the last couple of years, and Riley Leonard, who's now going to be the quarterback in Notre Dame. So that storyline in itself is really interesting. Throughout the entire summer, this game was a pick-em. It was minus 110 each way, and now, like, across the board, A&M is minus 3. Guys, you've had me on your show for the last year. You know that I look at value. I look at lines. It just feels like now that we've gotten to 3, it's ballooned to where it's a little too much. So it's not a game I like, but now that we're getting the key number of 3 with Notre Dame, that would be the side that I lean towards. Guys, I think the Irish are the team that has the best opportunity in week 1. We know they don't play in a conference, so they can't get one of those top 4 seeds. They can't get a bye in the playoff. Their Super Bowl is the regular season. They have to have a good performance in marquee games like this. Their schedule really isn't that difficult this year. Outside the A&M game, their 2 toughest games on paper are home against Florida State and that's towards the very end of the season. And if the Seminoles look like they did last week, they might not be ranked by the time they play. And then they're at USC at the end of the year, and we don't know what the Trojans are going to look like this season. So you're playing an SEC team on the road. I mean, this is the game for Notre Dame, right? So the fact that Elko's coaching in his first game in College Station, this thing's ballooned up 3 points. To me, it just feels like now the value's with the Irish. So if I had to play it, I'd take Notre Dame +3.
This is funny, PJ, because I want to ask you about the Heisman. I'm going to do it in a different way because I remember 5 years ago being in Vegas, and I never got around to it, thinking, boy, if I could just take a long shot and root for this player, and that happened 5 years ago. A guy who started out 5,000 plus 5,000. Joe Burrow, and then after week 1, it went down to 2,000. All of a sudden, he's gonna, win the Heisman. Looked it up, Danger. 2019. Here were the Heisman odds to begin the season. Trevor Lawrence at +260, Tua +270, Jalen Hurts +900, Jake Fromm was +1,200, Justin Fields +1,600. Travis Etienne +2,500, Justin Herbert +2,800, along with Jonathan Taylor. You're funny how woulda, coulda, shoulda. But now, PJ, that's where we bring you in because I'm sure that you've looked there at the Heisman odds here. What would be your advice? Because this is sure to change after week 1.
Yeah, Gene, it's really interesting. I mean, the Heisman, sure, there are years like Burrow where you have just complete long shots come out of nowhere and win it. It usually isn't the favorite. That's why I'm kind of staying away from Carson Beck and Dylan Gabriel this year. It's usually those guys in like the 10-1 to like 35 to 40-1 range. That's usually kind of the sweet spot that you were alluding to. So if you guys gave me a free bet and I could place it on anybody this year to win the Heisman Trophy, it'd be Jalen Milroe out of Alabama. That would be my guy. People that watch Milroe in college know that as a passer, he excels throwing the deep ball. And Kellen DeBoer obviously coming over from Washington. If you watch the Huskies play the last 2 years, that's where they excel. They love throwing the ball downfield. They love the vertical passing game. Penix was a great deep ball thrower. Milroe's the same way. And if they can just develop Milroe a little bit in the intermediate stuff, I think he can take off. Guys, here's an interesting parallel for you, right? So Jalen Hurts obviously was at Alabama, played under Nick Saban, went to Oklahoma to play for an offensive head coach in Lincoln Riley, and finished second in the Heisman that year to the guy that you just mentioned, Gene, in Joe Burrow. Doesn't it feel like that Milroe's a little bit similar, right, with the athletic ability, how he can beat you on the ground? He's certainly going to throw for touchdowns through the air. Now you go from Saban to Kellen DeBoer, an offensive head coach, a great offensive mind. That's kind of how I'm seeing it this year is I think Milroe could kind of be Jalen Hurts. I'm not saying he's going to be Jalen Hurts as a pro, but in college, I think Milroe is going to be really, really good this year. So, guys, if I had to make a bet, that'd be my guy. I'd take Milroe.
Yeah, and PJ, if you're thinking that I baited you into saying the name of the current Bengals quarterback, you'd be right, buddy.
I mean, Gene, we got Burrow, Milroe. Like, what else do we need? I mean, that was beautiful how we ended that.
Before we let you go, our college football weekend wraps up with a game on Sunday night and a game on Monday night. I wanted to get your take on LSU, USC Sunday night, and BC is Florida State licking their wounds after losing in Ireland on Monday night.
Yeah, so I like USC quite a bit, guys, +4.5 against LSU. Here's a great nugget about the Tigers. Since that national championship team with Joe Burrow, they have not won a season opener. They're 0 for their last 4. Huge game for LSU. That's why the spread has gone from 6.5 to 4.5. We call that reverse line movement, boys. All the money's coming in on LSU. The line is going the other way. We saw that happen in Florida State and Georgia Tech. Everybody was betting the Noles. Line kept moving towards Georgia Tech, and we saw what happened there. So I think that line movement's a little bit of an indicator for me. I like USC plus the points. I'd take some money line as well. And then I do think Florida State is going to bounce back, right? Because so many people probably bet them in Ireland, were so disgusted with what they saw. I mean, this is what I live for. Everybody's just overreacting after one game. People are saying Florida State sucks, DJU sucks. Well, BC, we don't know what they're going to look like. Bill O'Brien's taken over in his first year. They got a ton of change. So Florida State's at home. They got a chance to bounce back. I like the Noles to roll in that one. So USC, love them against LSU, and I like Florida State as well.
We are back. PJ,
We're so back.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, PJ Glasser. You want more PJ? Well, tell everybody about the show, Mr. Glasser.
Yes, sir. Send it in, guys, 1 to 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time every day, Monday through Friday. You can catch us twitch.tv/BetQL, YouTube /Odyssey Sports. And, guys, it's the time of the year where we're just doing a lot of this. We're going through college football. We're breaking down games. We obviously got the NFL starting up next week as well. So it's great to be back, fellas. It was awesome talking college football with you, and hopefully we can win some money all season.
Next week, when we have you on, week 1 of the NFL, PJ. We're looking forward to it.
Can't wait, fellas. We're going to talk some Survivor, Gene. Get ready.
Oh, I've got my pick, but I'm holding on to it right now, PJ. We'll compare notes next week.
Well, can't wait, guys. Thanks for having me on. Good talking with you.
You got it. PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In, Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, and Insider Calls are presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app.
Which game are you most looking forward to? I guess it's the game where it fits your schedule, right? Like you could make a case for any of these.
Oh, Gene, I thought you were going to tell me that I'm most looking forward to seeing Florida State, my favorite team, play on Monday night.
You just won't let that go. You said it on these airwaves.
I said I liked that team when I was a teenager.
Yeah, and you won the
And I
championship.
play as them
You
in
must-
Dynasty mode in College Football 25.
Well, based on what they did against Georgia Tech, you must be really good at that game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I should increase the difficulty. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But yeah, it's a fun game.
Which I'll phrase it a different way here. Reframe it. Which fan base is going to have their hair on fire upset after week 1? See, with the college football playoff, this used to mean something like, oh my gosh, the season's over. We're Florida State in the ACC. We couldn't afford to lose one game. They still can be fine.
I'll give you one. We were just talking about it. If LSU loses again in week 1 to USC.
It's a great night to be a Tiger. I'm here with my family.
That fraud is going to be feeling the heat all season long. You've got to make the college football playoff if you're a program like LSU, if you're a coach like Brian Kelly. And maybe you can get in as an SEC school with one win, of course, but you can't be losing week 1 again in prime time against USC. You should handle USC. So I think if LSU drops week 1, that fan base's head will be on fire.
I'm going to give you a team that in week 1, they could actually punch their ticket. Hear me out here on this. If they win this game, what's after this, you can see them coasting. I'm talking about Notre Dame.
I was going to say.
Notre Dame at Texas A&M. It's a coin flip game. Should be a great game. That's Saturday night. But listen to the Irish schedule after this. Home against Northern Illinois, against Purdue, Miami of Ohio, Louisville, Stanford, Georgia Tech, Navy. Then Florida State, Virginia, Army, USC. Look, you win this game, like what? Maybe one game you lose out of that?
No, it's cream puff season. You can actually run the table through that schedule.
Give me a break. Join a conference for crying out loud. Like, really? You should be penalized for that schedule.
Well, they are going to be penalized
if
if they make the playoff because they won't have a home game.
But on the other hand, if they lose to Texas A&M and then they lose to the ranked opponents and then, it's a 3, this will be a test.
Yeah, I love that matchup on Saturday night. That's an ABC game. Notre Dame traveling to College Station to take on the Aggies. It's back, man. Football is back. Real excited about it. We're getting a lot of reaction on Elon's Twitter from our first segment from earlier today.
I think it's like a gift, right? Somebody sent us.
It really is.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll play it again next hour for those that missed it.
Yeah, if anybody's thinking this is a stunt, no. Like, what's our budget on this show?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Nobody, yeah.
Ask our producer what our budget is on this show. East Hilton Brian tweeting at the Fan Rochester. I thought the only way to get a song written about you was to date and break up with Taylor Swift. Nice job. It's our buddy Sean in Long Island who did our theme song. Mike, one of our regulars out in Sodas at the Fan Rochester. Boys, we have a theme song. Great job, Sean in Long Island. I laughed so hard I almost crashed the boat. Mike at the Great Sodas Bay. These are our regulars. These are the people that we're talking about.
This is our community.
Yeah, we love you guys. And, we love Sean from Long Island putting together, giving us a gift. That theme song is chef's kiss. We're going to take a break and come back with more next on the Fan Rochester. I mentioned earlier that if you're a Bills fan, I think I may have identified what could be the kiss of death for the 2024 season. I'll explain what it is.
Also, Bill Belichick, could he actually be really, really good?
I've been saying this for weeks.
I know, but he showed some personality. Said a word that I'm like, okay, now this is never going to be out of my head here.
Yeah.
It actually may change my retirement plans here, Dave.
You hear him say things like this, and you're like, oh, Bill Belichick could be my crabby old next door neighbor, right? Like he sounds like a regular person. He doesn't sound like the greatest head coach of all time. He sounds like a regular dude when he says things like this. I love this, and you're right. He's been very good so far with anything that the media has thrown at him, and I think that a nice box of Pinot Noir might be in order.
Just for the record, it's the coaching cycle, March.
Yeah.
Like when they're all filled, that's when you'll get your box.
That's the payoff.
You can prepay to me anytime.
I won't be doing that. Good luck explaining to the executive producer how you lost another bet to your boy.
By the way, you brought up the executive producer. She thinks I'm being too soft on the Bills. She's saying, don't you see it? This is going to be a bad year.
Ooh.
I'm like, oh, whoa.
Ooh.
All right.
We'll get to that.
All right.
We'll get to that and more. Don't forget, coming up at 4:25, the big noise. Brad Evans, BetQL's BetMGM tonight here on the Odyssey network of stations and the free-to-download Odyssey app, a new addition to the BetQL network, and we'll check in with Brad Evans here as we get ready for fantasy football drafts this weekend. That's all on the way here on the Fan Rochester.
9BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Frank Gore Jr., Tyrell Shavers, KJ Hamler amongst those Buffalo Bills who've been brought back to the practice squad. Also on the practice squad, former Jets and Dolphins QB Mike White. Bills GM Brandon Beane on making the trade for kick returner Brandon Codrington.
When you watch the film and then you saw it translate to what he did in the preseason, again, for him, still a small NFL sample, but saw him, felt he made good decisions, fielded it cleanly. You know, we play in one of the hardest environments at home with the wind and all that, and that'll be an adjustment for him.
Bills are on the practice field right now. Curtis Samuel and MVS are both practicing in pads today. Rochester Red Wings lost the opener in Scranton. See two teams tonight in Eastern PA. Pirates trying not to blow it against the Cubs. They're in the ninth. Pittsburgh leading 10-9. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfit. Clueless to the title of the biggest bus gag hits. Chuck Munchie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, Q Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Alan. Of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
I don't know. I could get used to that, I think. Wow. That's from Sean in Long Island. Sports bar regular.
That is funny. And that's something, like, I gotta be honest, the first time I didn't pick up everything that they said there.
Mr. Mayo.
Some of these, I figure, like, there was one day, and the first time I didn't pick this up. Second time, I'm like, oh my gosh, they made a crack about my Yacht Rock gaff. We were planning on having Mike Leone, New Ameryk's coach, on the show. And I was all excited. He thinks, what if we played Leo Shuffle? And you're looking at me like, what are you talking about, Leo Shuffle? No, the song.
He's got a great song named after him and everything. It's going to be great. I'm
yeah,
like, what
like,
song?
Like we can introduce Mike Leone, who goes by the nickname of Leo.
Yeah.
And they just like, what are you talking about? Like, Leo. Whoa.
Gene.
You're talking.
Oh, no, dude. Lido Shuffle. That's Boz Scaggs' arguably biggest hit, and you've gone your whole life thinking it was Leo Shuffle. Whoa, pal.
It was bad.
Yeah.
That was bad, and this is why sometimes you say things off the air. If I had said that off the air, you would have found it funny and would never brought it up. I might have pulled it up on. I might have brought it up on the air. I mean, listen, masterstroke isn't masterstroke unless we said what he said off the air on the air. Oh, you really think that starting Nathan Peterman over Tyrod's a good idea? Yeah, put your name on it. Come on the air with us and share your enthusiasm. Let's see how that goes for you, pal. That's that'll go down in sports bar legend as well. Sean in Long Island is a sports bar legend for putting together that gift for us. Fantastic work, dude. I think we should open the show if we have permission to use that. Like, open the show with it every day.
Yeah, well, I'm fairly certain Sean from Long Island will be all right with that. We will we'll exchange emails. He sent that to us via email earlier today, and again, we're not hard to find on email. Mike.Danger@Odyssey. He's Gene. Battaglia at Odyssey.
Part of me wants to send that to Dan Dunleavy, the voice of the Sabres. We had him on, and what he said was, guys, I don't see a lot of food. I don't see a lot of drinks. That's the mark of how good a show you are. And sure enough, we did have people. I remember Phil came up.
Oh, yeah, he bought us a drink. Yeah,
so it was almost like on cue. I'd be like, okay, Dan, did anybody ever write a song for you?
Yeah. Right. I mean, if you think that's the mark of a show that's made it, pal, let me show you what we've done, because that's small time for us. Chris from South Central Kentucky, all he does is drive halfway across the country to give us bourbon and beer. Sean in Long Island wrote a song for us. Checkmate. We'll be joined by Brad Evans. New to the BetQL network, The Big Noise, part of BetMGM tonight with Ryan Horvath starting next week. We'll talk some fantasy football here coming up in less than 20 minutes. Gino, I hate to say it, but I think I may have seen this season's kiss of death for the Buffalo Bills.
What?
This is from Buffalo nemesis Nick Wright of Fox Sports.
Oh, come on.
This is a guy who claims to always be right about his Bills predictions. Always. And Bills fans will push back on a lot of what he says. A lot of times he will say things that end up happening even though we don't like a lot of what he has to say. Nick Wright is calling for the Bills to win the AFC East. He doesn't trust the Jets coaching staff or 40-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles injury. He believes the Dolphins have enough talent to beat up on bad teams but can't elevate to compete against the league's best, similar to last season. This is a one-playoff team division, and Nick Wright likes the Bills to represent the AFC East. Now, I, like many of you, are not as high on this year's squad as I've been in years past, but hearing Wright predict another divisional title for Buffalo is at best a troll take, and at worst, the Grim Reaper knocking on the door at one Bills drive this season.
No, I think he has ascended on that network because, well, they pushed Bayless out, and he can't be. The thing about Bayless, you always knew where he was coming down on takes. And maybe that's comforting for some, but after a while it gets kind of tired. For Nick Wright to pick the Buffalo Bills, is he setting this up?
This is the mark of a takesman. Do you want to know his explanation as to why he believes many national pundits are picking the Bills to finish third? Because Wright believes they're listening to him be right about the Bills all the time. This is an overcorrection, that because he's been right about the Bills for the last 4 years as often as he's been, that the rest of the national media is now following suit, and they're down on the Bills, and he thinks it's an overcorrection.
There's a guy who lives in his own bubble.
That's it.
If you're not familiar with Nick Wright, he went to Syracuse. He knows what this area is all about.
Yeah.
So he knows exactly. And if you want to poke the bear at some fan base, most would just kind of be like, okay, yeah, Aaron Rodgers is old. What do you? So what? We're the Jets. We're going to be fine. Like, most would kind of shrug it off. For some reason, and we're guilty of this too, our antenna goes up and we want to fight. It's a big deal. Like, hey, also guess what, Danger? Like, the Bills do get some wins under the belt. Just get ready for Wright to say, hey, congratulations, September champs. Congratulations, win when it matters most. I think the discussion here is this, and this brings me back to a discussion we had 2 years ago. And I remember this because you and I sparred on the air, and it was this. You asked me this question: if the Buffalo Bills do not make the Super Bowl, is it a disappointing season? And I said, yeah, it's black and white. And you're like, well, there's no nuance to that. I'm like, no, there's no nuance because I believe that's the expectation for this team. Now, what ends up happening? Well, oh gosh, snowstorms and racist shooting and DeMar Hamlin, all the stuff that you could say, well, okay, that did carry a toll on the team. I'm just kind of bringing that background. Like, if you brought up the expectation to me now, what's the expectation? Where 2 years ago, I'm like, hey, anything short of the Super Bowl failure. If the Bills win the division with this roster and host a playoff game and win a playoff game, that's the season to me. Like, I don't think anybody should be expecting, yes, this is the year the Bills break through. It's going to be another playoff loss, but if you're just being honest about where the rosters are now, it's going to take another year for Brandon Beane to get who he wants in here.
I feel like, and I've heard this from more than one Bills fan, I feel like it's either they make the Super Bowl or they miss the playoffs entirely, that there's no middle ground with this team, that it could be so bad that they miss the postseason entirely. It could be so good that they surprise everybody and actually make it to the Super Bowl.
I think that is just a Bills fan rationalizing. If you want to say, I think the Bills are going to fall apart here, I will listen to that, and I think you can make a reasoned argument for it. I think that's a Bills fan rationalizing, I don't want to go out there. I want to think of the best-case scenario. Honestly, the people that are saying that, are they season ticket holders? Are they big Bills fans? Yes, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they're just hedging.
Hedging and justifying their emotions and their
their
spend.
Yeah, that's it. Something that we've talked about here in the Sports Bar, Danger, that when you're building an NFL roster, when you're an NFL GM, okay, this is a league where everything's equal. No, it's not. Certain teams inherently, where they're based out of, are at a disadvantage.
Yes.
$1 million in New York is less than $1 million in Florida or Texas or wherever. Well, at least the Buffalo Bills are not alone in this problem. Former Patriots head coach Bill Belichick dropped this scud on McAfee, saying that he, the architect of the Patriots, say what you want about it, as a GM, but he was at a disadvantage for working in Massachusetts. I've never heard that before.
It's good.
I've heard of massholes.
Yeah.
Like, hey, the driving, that's it. But Massachusetts, I think that's actually going to stick. And apparently, I didn't even know this. Maybe this will make us feel better here. Well, actually, we're not in this bracket here, Danger. But in Massachusetts, you get seven figures on your return. Well, then you're going to get an extra 4% tax that goes on top.
Jeez.
Belichick, this is the bottom line. I didn't want to have a tax conversation. I want to have a Belichick conversation. He's got personality.
Yep.
I think he's very good at this.
He is. He's great on McAfee. He's been great in everything that I've seen him on so far. He's insightful. He's really sharp. I can't wait to see him on the Manning cast. I think that's going to be fantastic. I think throughout the course of the season, when he pops up, it's going to be worth paying attention to. He's going to be on the Jim Gray show that he does on NFL radio that he used to do with Brady, Belichick, and I forget who he's on with. But, yeah, he's good at it. Mm-hmm. He's good at talking about it. And you can tell the more he talks about it, Gino, I feel like the more he unearths some of the secrets and the thoughts that he had for a long, long time as a head coach of that franchise. And it's going to make it harder and harder for him to get back in to that inner circle of NFL coaches. I don't know if you knew this or not, but there's only 32 of those jobs.
Well, if the Cowboys, Giants, Eagles, whoever has an opening next year, okay, we could just kind of agree on this. You should call Bill Belichick. Why wouldn't you? Like, it's a free analysis of your team. What would Bill Belichick, winner of all these Super Bowls, do with your organization? And you take that. That's why I was shocked that he didn't get more than the one interview. Why wouldn't you? Well, because a lot of people are just kind of put off. This is him remaking his image. The league can remake any image. Ray Lewis was accused of double murder and was trotted out in a perp walk, yet now he's the most beloved linebacker of our generation. Okay, so yes, Bill Belichick shunned last year at this process. Next year, because of what he's going to do here in the media, he's going to be celebrated.
I think that because the teams that will be talking to him will likely be in some sort of rebuild mode, that it's going to hurt his opportunity of having any success if he comes back, because he hasn't been able to rebuild. You didn't see him rebuild New England when Brady left. You saw him kind of fall on his face. So I know with Brady there, you had plenty of chances to churn over the roster, and you had Brady, taking the hometown discount, and you were able to work some players in there and get the most out of those players. But, man, more and more I just feel like that was about Brady just a tick more than it was about Belichick.
Well, the question I would have, too, for Belichick is, you might have the energy to go one of these places. Can you actually build a staff?
Can you communicate with a team? Can you own a locker room? Can you get through to these guys?
Dude, well, that I'm not worried about. You see the age of his girlfriend?
Oh, yeah, I suppose if you just bring her in for the pregame motivational speech, everything will be fine.
Well, she might be busy, though, cutting hair.
She's got a very busy schedule.
Week 1 game, Danger. Want to pick one here?
Okay.
Okay, so we got college football tomorrow night, college football Saturday, but we're already looking ahead to Week 1 games. So we've been doing this slow roll here, picking a game every day. And this one's interesting, and I think this one is going to impact the Buffalo Bills. Jacksonville at Miami. The line right now stands at Dolphins minus the 3.5. We remember what happened down in Miami. We know the Dolphins have this offense that could come out flying, and right now the over-under at 49.5. honestly, Danger, I know some people are saying, oh, that's too high. I don't think that's high enough. I think it's going to go higher on this because I could very easily see this game in the warm weather being a shootout and with two defenses that are okay. Maybe the Dolphins a little more sketch, but I'd ask this: why wouldn't you take Jacksonville? Like that half point, if it is going to be a shootout, makes a big difference getting the 3.5. Jacksonville, by the way, finishing above 500, lest we forget, losing to the Titans last year. So I'm actually going to take the Jags with the points. I think this might fit in that narrow window where Miami might win, but they don't cover.
Okay. All right, so I see what you're doing there. Yeah, I mean, Miami's winning this game, in my opinion.
But do they cover?
Do they cover the 3.5? Ugh. I'm going to say they do. I'll take Miami to cover.
Well, we haven't disagreed on much so far.
Yeah,
so.
this one I'm going with Miami. There's something about Jacksonville that doesn't sit well with me. I'm not sure what it is, but the collapse late last year, the collapse in the playoffs the year before.
Now you don't have Calvin Ridley, but now you do have Gabe Davis.
It's not an upgrade. I love ETN. Love Travis Etienne. Don't know why they don't showcase him more in that offense. And I think Trevor Lawrence, oh, man, I got to find this stat on Trevor Lawrence real quick.
Real time here in the sports bar.
I know where I'm looking for it. I've got it right here. This is courtesy of Warren Sharp Football Analysis. Trevor Lawrence is 1-18 when his defense doesn't record a takeaway. 1-18, which is the worst record for any quarterback. Lawrence has also lost 21 fumbles the last 3 seasons. That's worst in the NFL. No other quarterback even has 15, let alone over 20. Now, that's got to be something, obviously, that if you're Jacksonville, you need to fix. But that stat is so alarming to me. If the defense doesn't get a takeaway, Lawrence isn't winning you that game. 1-18 when Jacksonville's defense doesn't get a turnover.
That is noteworthy. So the question is, can the Dolphins play a clean game here?
Can you get a takeaway from Trevor Lawrence?
Or does Mike McDaniel actually downshift? Like we're just going to run HN here, left and right, Mostert. And
I don't have a lot of faith in Mike McDaniel. I haven't seen it. Like, you have to win something for me to be like, oh, yeah. I know he's a smart guy, and I know he's getting the most out of what he has in his quarterback because his quarterback is limited with what he's able to do throwing the football. But, man, it feels like he's built that offense around speed. He's built that offense around the strengths of the players within. I don't know that they're good enough to beat the upper echelon teams in the NFL. I think we've kind of established that with Miami. But I think they can beat a mid-team like Jacksonville week 1. So I'll take that. I'll take Miami minus the 3.5.
From baseball, Paul Skeens was dealing today. They took him out. Okay, he had a lead, 10-5.
That one happened.
Cubs scored 2 in the 7th, 3 in the 8th, 6 in the 9th. Yeah. They overcome a 10-5. They won 14-10.
Yep. How's that bullpen looking there, Pittsburgh?
You might want to build a team around.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Brad Evans, the big noise. We've had him on in the past. Fantasy football, March Madness. Man, I'm excited. I'm sure he's over the moon. He's joining the BetQL network as part of the cast of BetMGM Tonight, which you'll be able to hear starting next week on the Fan Rochester starting at 7 o'clock. With our buddy Ryan Horvat, that's soft day, Ryan Horvat. Mm-hmm. Brad Evans from BetMGM Tonight. Stopping by the sports bar. Next, we'll talk some fantasy football on the Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. Sports Update.
Frank Gore Jr., Tyrell Shavers, KJ Hamler amongst the Bills who've been brought back to the practice squad. Also coming is former Jets and Dolphins QB Mike White. Here's GM Brandon Beane.
I'm excited that we were able to get Mike. You never know how it's going to turn out, where guys are going to land, and we recruited him hard to get him on this P squad. And, Mitch is still working his way back. Truly unknown yet whether Mitch will be ready to play week 1. So it's great we get Mike in here now.
Meanwhile, today, wide receivers Curtis Samuel and MVS both at practice in full pads. We'll talk some fantasy coming up next. Brad Evans joining us here in the Sports Bar. Wings losing their opener in Scranton. Same two teams tonight in Eastern PA. Pirates today blowing a lead, 14-10. The Cubs come back to win. Guardians win over Kansas City, 7-5. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, The Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-432-6. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
It was late last week. I was scrolling through my feed and I saw the news that one of our favorites is joining the family, and next week you'll be able to hear him on these very airwaves. The Fan Rochester is part of BetMGM tonight with our buddy Ryan Horvat. We welcome in Brad Evans. Hola, ¿cómo está, señor Huevos? Welcome to mi casa.
Amigos!
Hey!
Yes, I'm super excited about the new show and ruining everybody's fantasy roster.
Well, I mean, we listened to BetMGM tonight. We've had Ryan. We love Ryan. Do I take it now? We're going to get a lot of fantasy talk in BetMGM tonight?
Yeah, it was really a demand that I had. And, Mitch Rosen was all the years a tremendous man and, phenomenal friend as well. And I said, Mitch, if we're going to do this show right, we got really cast a wide net and address all gamers, not just the gamblers out there, and I'm one of them, but also all the fantasy players as well, because the gray area between the two is really washed away. And we're really looking forward to, touching, both bases. And we're going to do a lot of it through player props and those discussions and over-under on touchdowns and receptions and yards. So we cannot wait to get started.
Yeah, and all of that correlates to whether or not you're going to have a successful fantasy team or a successful fantasy week when you look at some of those prop bets, Brad. And I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of the average sports guy, right? I'm not a sharp by any means. I do place bets from time to time. I play in several fantasy football leagues. I mean, I feel like that's a show that's geared towards somebody like me who just wants the information presented in a fun and entertaining way, which you've done your entire career.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and it's exactly how we're going to, approach it. There's going to be sound drops. There's going to be all kinds of musical references. It's going to be jackassery at its finest. I can tell you that right now. And we're going to, provide a lot of information. We're going to talk to insiders for particular teams. We already got somebody lined up for the Kansas City Chiefs for the Thursday Night Football opener, as a matter of fact, to get you all the gory details on whether or not Samaje Perine is going to eat into the third down role of Isaiah Pacheco, and that's got some fantasy football ripple effects, for example. So, yeah, we're gonna cover all the bases. We're gonna do more than football when stuff is in season. We'll address some baseball bets as well on Monday. We're gonna really round the bases, use a baseball reference on BetMGM tonight. All the ins, all the outs, and all of the sweats. You're gonna hear my real bets live on the air. We're going to track them in real time. And if something happens, we're going to drop a little CMC music factor. It's going to make you sweat. Bop, 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 baby. And then we'll get an update on whether or not my bet panned out, or if I got to reload the bank account at BetMGM.
Brad Evans, our guest here in the Sports Bar. We got some fantasy questions lined up for you, and I'm sure this is a common one, but a lot of us are heading to the weekend where we have our drafts. I've got two coming up here, and we'll all get to this point in the draft where, all right, I'm looking at these wide receivers. There's Ayuk. Do I really feel confident here? Like, can I let him go another round here? Like, what is your advice when it comes to Brandon Ayuk? And, my gosh, are you penciling him in the Niners after all, or does he get dealt the last second? And how, if at all, does this storyline with their left tackle, Trent Williams, you almost forget he's not there either right now.
Yeah, look, a lot of question marks, certainly by the Bay. And, with Brandon Ayuk, he's going to sign his name on the dotted line, get a deal done with the organization. They're making some progress in that department. But, hey, we hear all these rumblings. Is he a guy that's going to get shipped out of town to Washington, go from left coast to right coast, maybe potentially to the Pittsburgh Steelers as well? And I would say both those, venues, if he winds up in P-Town or the nation's capital, or downgrades from where he's at now in San Francisco. So there is enhanced risk with Brandon Ayuk overall. I mean, right now you look at the ADP at wide receiver 19. That's exactly where I have him ranked. If push comes to shove, I'm at a draft tonight, and gun in my head, do I make the call here on Brandon Ayuk at a sizable investment? No, I don't, because of the risks that are involved and incorporated with him. So as it stands now, I would allow somebody else to deal with the headache than to go out and draft him, because there's just so many unknowns attached to the excellent wide receiver currently of the San Francisco 49ers.
Brad, stud wide receivers out there, and some with question marks, some that haven't done anything this preseason. CeeDee Lamb just getting his deal done with Dallas. Jamar Chase waiting for his deal, back on the practice field, but not in any sort of consistent way here leading up into week one. Justin Jefferson has a new quarterback. I guess if there's one guy that I feel like maybe you can count on more than any of them, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown in Detroit. I'm curious how you're dealing with and how you have these stud wide receivers, these top-tier wide receivers ranked.
I'll give you the ranking right now. I got my cheat sheet nice and neat in front of me, always a single page. You can download it right now on my website, thegamingjuice.com. It's absolutely free. You have no excuse. So at wide receiver, and I'm using half-point PPR as kind of the measuring stick here. My 101 is CeeDee Lamb, followed by Tyreek Hill, then Jamar Chase at 3. I'm not too worried about the hold-in that's going on. I know we didn't practice today, but the expectation is he's going to suit up. He's not going to miss any game checks. We should learn that lesson from CeeDee Lamb. At number 4, I got Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then Justin Jefferson at 5. And that may surprise some people. Sam Darnold does throw a decent deep ball, but the accuracy in the intermediate field is my greater concern there. I would say maybe the upside is that Minnesota's going to probably play from behind early and often this season. That could be a 5 or 6 win franchise with the leaky defense that they possess. But with Justin Jefferson, there could be some hollow targets. So I like CeeDee Lamb a little bit more. Love Tyreek Hill and the continuity there with Tua Tagovailoa. Jamar Chase at 3, again, not too worried. And Amon-Ra's got just a tremendously high floor, and it's all about established chemistry that he already possesses with Jared Goff and Detroit. Could they win a Super Bowl? That's my pick, guys. It's got to happen someday. It happens this year at 12-1.
That is fantastic here. Gosh, I remember last year lines opening up, and they announced to the world, hey, opening night, we beat the Chiefs here. And, well, Kadarius Toney had a big part in that loss, and, well, he's no longer there. Question about where the ball is going in Kansas City, because you do have Hollywood Brown. Not sure on his status here, but in terms of target share and that offense, and you mentioned Pirine coming over, they pick him off the scrap heap in Denver. How do you assess where the ball is going in Kansas City, Brett?
Yeah, well, look, obviously the king of consistency there is the $100 million man, at least half of that, Travis Kelce, with that Wondery deal that he just signed yesterday. Congrats, Mr. Taylor Swift. He's obviously going to be an elite tight end. And at wide receiver, I did love Hollywood Brown. Unfortunately, with the injury that he suffered from in the shoulder, how soon is he going to be back? Hopefully he's only going to miss a game or two, if it's anything at all. He's a guy that can get a lot of the dirty work done. We saw him run some of those underneath routes with tremendous amount of success in Baltimore a couple of years ago. And the other guy that I really do like in this offense is Rashee Rice. And I don't think he's going to, get suspended. Obviously, there was some issues there stemming from the vehicle troubles that he had and the drag racing that he was in street racing that he committed in the offseason. A lot of rumblings and rumors and beliefs that he would be suspended, maybe 3-4 games, maybe as minimal as 1. I don't think he's going to get suspended at all, as that is still going through the litigation process. So, as it stands now, I would say Rice is number 1 and 1 at the wide receiver position, though Kelce really is going to lead the pack there in targets and offense. And then Hollywood Brown would be, number 2, not too far off from Rice and a really good value right now in fantasy drafts with his ADP right around wide receiver 40 overall, coming off that shoulder injury. So that's how I'm looking at it. And, Patrick Mahomes is going to spread the love. We know that. And here's the other key, guys. Mahomes has the sixth easiest fantasy strength of schedule for a quarterback. That's why I believe he's going to throw for at least 45 touchdowns this year.
Brad Evans, new to BetMGM tonight, starting next week, joining us here in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia. We're talking some fantasy football. You mentioned Travis Kelce, Braden. One thing about that position this year, it feels like it's a little bit deeper than it has been in years past, where if you don't grab one of the first one or two guys, a Kelce or a Mark Andrews, that you might be scrambling for production at that position for the entirety of a season, whereas now it feels like you've got plenty of options and a little bit more depth than we're used to seeing at tight end. Is that correct?
Yeah, it really is. One of the deepest, tight end classes from my recollection we've seen maybe in a decade, quite honestly, and maybe ever in fantasy. So many guys playing that kind of hybrid role. And look at Dalton Kincaid, for example, right? He's listed as a tight end, but really he's a slot wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills, and the target share is going to be enormous there. So I have Kincaid at number 5 on my tight end list, and this is the year, guys. This is the year Kyle Pitts actually lives up to the hype with a competent quarterback under center there, and Kirk Cousins, a great strength of schedule, very favorable for him. I think he is going to eat early and often down there in the ATL. Trey McBride is an elite tight end. Evan Ingram coming off a monster season, a surefire TE1. Even if you go down the list, guys like a Tyler Conklin, with Aaron Rodgers at the controls, and hopefully he's going to stay upright this season in New York, could be a breakout candidate. Isaiah Likely, another player that could be of that Dalton Kincaid mold in that hybrid role, playing outside or in the slot for the Baltimore Ravens, and, of course, the laser rocket arm that Lamar Jackson possesses. And I'll even throw out Taysom Hill as well. Just got tight end eligibility in Yahoo leagues. You might say, man, we've been there, done that with him, and it's anyone's best guess what Taysom Hill's going to do week in and week out. But they're going to expand his packages. That's from Dennis Allen, not from me. And I think he's a guy with 5 to 7 rushing touchdown appeal this year. And, of course, he'll catch a few balls and maybe throw a couple in the end zone as well. So don't sleep too hard on Taysom Hill. Yes, at 34 years old, the Swiss Army knife down there in New Orleans could really get it done and be maybe a borderline tight end one when it's all said and done in 12-team leagues.
So the thing about Hill is it drives me nuts. It's like 1 week he'll pop really big, and then you go pick him up and you plug him in, and then nothing. So can we expect something maybe a little more consistent then?
A possibility. I mean, I think you're going to get some of the, peaks and valleys with him, and that really applies to almost every single player that's out there, outside like maybe the top 5 elite players in a given position. But yeah, look, if they really stick to what they have been saying and truly expand the package, and they're going to utilize him not only as a quarterback, but as a tight end, as a split out wide receiver, as a running back, and maybe gets a consistent 5 to 7 touches per game. A lot of those are going to come inside the red zone. A lot of those are going to come specifically at the goal line. I think Taysom Hill could turn a profit. I mean, you're paying nothing for him right now in fantasy drafts with his ADP around 160 overall. So draft, stash, see how it shakes out. If you get that consistency, plug him in and reap the benefit.
Brad, PPR question. We are pro PPR in this show. Some are against it, but we love it. And the question is here, because you just look at the running backs, it's a lot different with PPR. And the guy that a lot of us always kind of banked on, Austin Eckler, he's in a new environment. If we are looking at that format, are there any running backs beyond the top tier that you could recommend?
Yeah, there are a number of guys. I mean, first and foremost, I think with the news that Nick Chubb is on the PUP list, and he's going to miss the first 4 weeks of the regular season. And honestly, I think it's going to stretch well beyond that. He could be out for the first half of the regular season. Jerome Ford, man, he's going to be a Mustang, and I think he's going to peel out here early on this season. I would not be remotely shocked at a half-point PPR, full-point PPR, hell, even in a standard league. He's going to post RB1 numbers in a 12-team format the first handful of weeks of the regular season and maybe beyond that. You look at the Cleveland offensive line, it is elite. It's one of the top 5 best in the NFL. This is a team that is predicated on the run under Kevin Stefanski. And with, Deshaun Watson, all the issues and question marks with him not being 100%, I think the ball to belly is going to happen early. It's going to happen often. To Jerome Ford, whether on standard handoffs or dump off passes, he could be good for 3 to 5 receptions per game. So that's a guy I would certainly move up my list. Another player I'll throw out there that's kind of off the beaten path, but Jaleel McLaughlin in Denver. Sean Payton has raved about him this entire training camp. Yeah, Juggernaut Javonte Williams going to be the main man there with Audric Estime getting a lot of short yards and goal line work. But the primary pass down back, in my opinion, is going to be McLaughlin. I might have some 2 running back sets there in Denver, and he's a guy that maybe has 45 to 55 catch appeal this year, especially given how woeful the Broncos defensively should be. Playing catch-up, he's going to be on the field a ton. Don't sleep too hard on Jaleel McLaughlin. Could be a money man, again, in PPR formats.
Brad, are we sleeping on an offense that we should be investing in? We talk a lot about, offenses like the Chiefs or the Eagles. I mean, certainly Detroit. The offenses that we want to walk away from our draft with a share of. Are there offenses out there that you're hearing people not talk enough about?
Yeah, the Tennessee Titans, guys. Look, I'm a buyer in Will Levis. Now, I'm not going to put mayo in my coffee. That's insanity. But I will say this. The guy's got a howitzer for an arm. And, he's a big dude. He's a strapping dude. And he can spin the spirals. And when you got, and I know DeAndre Hopkins deal with a knee issue right now, and hopefully he's going to be back soon, maybe miss a game or 2, if any at all, in the regular season. But you got Calvin Ridley, who's at an incredible training camp by all indications, boots on the ground. People looking from afar, they've been raving about him. It doesn't really matter. I think he's being slept on too hard in fantasy drafts, going like wide receiver 3 right now. But he got Tyjae Spears and catch the ball in the backfield. He got Tony Pollard, who's kind of a do-it-all back as well. Chico Conquo is a tight end with a ton of upside, ton of athleticism there. And the defense for the Titans stinks. And that's a great thing for fantasy production, again, because you're scoreboard chasing practically early on. So it would not be shocking to me if Will Levis, who's going like quarterback 24 right now in average drafts, is a top 15 signal caller this year, and the associated players around him, especially Calvin Ridley, in my opinion, he's got a chance to crack the wide receiver top 20. On top of that, Spears and Pollard are going to be quite valuable assets in PPR formats. Again, woeful defense usually leads to increased opportunities, which means oftentimes more scoring as well. So don't forget about the Tennessee Titans. Could be a party in Las Vegas, which I hear is common pretty much year-round.
Brad, last one for me, and it's got some real football to it, quote-unquote. But, we talk a lot of Buffalo Bills football here naturally, and if I'm listing reasons what would concern me for the Bills in Week 1 against Arizona, it's really the unknown. Marvin Harrison Jr., we've seen a little bit there in the preseason. We've seen all their wide receivers burst onto the scene and make a name for themselves. So just in Week 1, but also for the whole year, how would you kind of forecast the numbers here for Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Man, the hype is just out of control right now on some of these rookie wideouts. Marvin Harrison Jr., I loved his value about 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. He was going around wide receiver 18, wide receiver 19. Over the last month, guys, is ADP wide receiver 9. People are drinking the silly sauce. You're buying on the bull, not the bear, and there's no profitability there at that price point. I'm just not buying it. Look, I know Arizona has an equally dreadful defense, much like the Tennessee Titans, which will increase those, targets overall for Marvin Harrison. And he's a freak. We know the pedigree with his father and obviously the overall skill set he possesses and show it at the Ohio State. I have to say that for copyright purposes. But, he's a guy that's probably, 75, 80 receptions, I would say 1,050, 1,100 yards, handful of touchdowns. That's solid, but that's not wide receiver 9 level production. So I would pump the brakes on him, and you can apply the same logic to Malik Neighbors. Another guy, freakish athlete. This is not an indictment on his skill set. It's off the charts. We've seen what he can do in the preseason. We've seen the videos that made the rounds on social media in practice. He can make every single catch that's out there. His quarterbacks suck. Let's not sugarcoat it. They're awful. Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, it doesn't matter who is under center in the Big Apple. He may be targeted 140 times. He'll be lucky to catch 10 balls. It sounds like an exaggeration, but you're overpaying for Malik Neighbors, who right now is wide receiver 21 on average in fantasy drafts since August 1st. I think he's a guy that'll be lucky to crack the wide receiver top 30 when it's all said and done.
All right, Brad, I love having you on. I love having Barons on. You, me, Barons. I think we might be like three of the more vocal Chicago Bears fans that are out there. We don't like talk about it enough. Humor me for a second here. Indulge this Bears fan. Are you allowing yourself to buy into some of the hype?
Oh, yeah, and enormously, guys. Look, I'm trying to bury the bias as much as humanly possible, but let's call a spade a spade. This offense is going to be damn good. Caleb Williams is a real deal of Holyfield. He was quarterback 15 last season, not for Lake Superior State, not for, like, Bethune-Cookman. He played at USC, and that was among all FBS quarterbacks, and adjusted completion percentage. He was top 15 in the country. We've seen what he's been able to do with the first-team offense. There's been, some ups, some downs, as is the case with any rookie quarterback coming into the league. But when you're surrounded with the arsenal that he has and DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, fat or no fat at 230 pounds, it doesn't matter to me. He's got great hands. You got Cole Kmet there at tight end. You got Roma Dunze, who's going to play a pivotal role in the slot. DeAndre Swift catch balls out of the backfield. Khalil Herbert will spell him at times. The offensive line, I think, is going to be borderline top 10. He's got a borderline top 10 supportive defense. I am buying the Bears. I can't believe I'm saying this. This is why I drink, guys. This is why my liver is the size of Texas, because they have driven me to the tequila bottle for a number of years. The Bears are going to be damn good this year. I'm taking the over on 9.5 wins. I think the Bears to make the playoffs on -110, and I'm buying on Caleb Williams, Offensive Rookie of the Year. I cannot believe it's still plus money, plus 135 right now at BetMGM. Go all in on Chicago. They're going to be full real.
Last thing here, and that would be about your new co-host, Ryan. And we knew Ryan from his days in Milwaukee before he went to BetMGM tonight. We'd invite him on anytime there'd be an issue with the Packers or the Bucs, and he'd always be gracious. And then it was one of those moments where I was mortified, because then he goes on BetMGM tonight, and it wasn't until then I realized, oh, my gosh, this whole time I've been mispronouncing his name. Like, I was thinking, like, Bo Horvat from, I think he plays for the Islanders now. Like, he's such a nice guy that for all these years we were calling him Ryan Horvat. It's Horvat.
Using our hard A accent here from Western New York. And Ryan's just a gentleman, just rolled with it, didn't say anything until we started actually pronouncing it the right way and owned up to it. So you've got a guy next to you starting next week on BetMGM tonight with a lot of patience. We'll put it that way, Brad.
Oh, yeah, indeed, and a tremendous human being. I honestly, guys, I think you just educated me, because he's not correcting me either, because I've been saying Horvat, like a vat of beer. So it's Horvat.
It's Horvat.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna play with this live on air when we debut on September 3rd. So on Tuesday, I had like nicknames lined up. I was gonna be Horvat, that cat, but that can't work now. So I got to go Horvat. And I feel like I have my pinky out when I say it.
Yes, of course.
And he's such a nice guy, but he does have a streak to them. Real quick story. So it's draft night, Detroit, big scene, everything. And I put out this innocuous tweet, and you never know who's going to pick up a tweet. And I said, hey, what is this? Why would anybody go stand there? What is this for you? It's not a concert. You're so far away. Then my phone started to blow up because I'm not listening to the show at that moment, but Ryan saw it. And on the show, he said, well, that's Gene being Mr. Krabby Ass there. It's a lot of fun. So he does have that streak where he can call somebody that.
Well, I'm really looking forward to him calling me out because he's going to hopefully throw me under the bus, not only drive over me, but just go ahead and throw it in reverse. Horvat, and do it again.
Yeah.
So I'm totally down. And that'll add to the flair, the excitement, the exchanges that will be completely unscripted. And those are the moments I live for when doing live radio.
Well, I can't wait to hear how it sounds starting next Tuesday. Brad, you and Ryan are the best. Really appreciate you carving out some time, and also appreciate all the work you're doing there and putting stuff out, content for free for people that are into this like I am at thegamingjuice.com. Your site's fantastic.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, super snazzy. Shout out to Boom Press. who is our platform provider. And, yeah, all kinds of fresh content. We're cranking out every single day. And my colleagues, Ben Wittenstein and Nate Jacobson, already churning out college football picks. So I'm going to tell those guys, loving Stanford plus the points against TCU. So let's go.
Brad, appreciate the time, man. Looking forward to Tuesday night.
All right, guys, I appreciate it as well. Good luck in your fantasy draft. Bear down!
Yes, that's my guy. That's my guy right there.
That's going to work in that time slot because you need a little energy, right?
Oh,
like you're working the swing shift or whatever it is. Yeah, you need a little Brad Evans.
That's my guy. Yeah. Although Horvat's a Packers guy.
Right. That's
it's gonna be
conflict.
Great.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. Yeah. Brad Evans, the big noise here in the sports bar. Good to have him on and excited that he's going to be a part of our family here at the Fan Rochester starting Tuesday night on BetMGM tonight. You'll be able to hear Brad weeknights starting at 7 o'clock. Happy hour is next in the sports bar. The Buffalo Bills have made plenty of moves to their practice squad. We're going to get you caught up on everything going on with the Bills roster here as we prepare for week 1 of the NFL season, a week 1 that will kick off a week from tomorrow.
Yeah, we can also tell you who didn't go to the practice squad. That seems to be raising some eyebrows. And also, if you missed it from earlier in the show, I think, I don't want to say it's the best gift because we've gotten things in the past. I don't want to slay anybody, but this was a surprise we got today.
Yeah, we'll get into that and more next. Your calls are always welcome at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN.
WPTF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Practice squad shaping up for the Buffalo Bills. Tyrell Shavers, KJ Hamler, Frank Gore Jr. amongst the Buffalo Bills bringing back to the practice squad. Also on that practice squad, former Jets and Dolphins QB Mike White. Bills GM Brandon Beane making the trade for kicker returner Brandon Codrington.
When you watch the film and then you saw it translate to what he did in the preseason, again, for him, still a small NFL sample, but saw him, felt he made good decisions, fielded it cleanly. You know, we play in one of the hardest environments at home with the wind and all that, and that'll be an adjustment for him.
Curtis Samuel and VS both practicing fully in pads today. Rochester Red Wings again in Scranton tonight. In the majors, the Pirates blew a lead. 14-10, the Cubs come back to win. Guardians also rally. They beat KC 7-5. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
After the roster was reduced to 53, a couple of surprises, twists, and turns. We'll get into all of those, including your practice squad.
They asked who's the most overrated player, quarterback in the NFL. And the answer, the winner, was Josh Allen.
Mike Danger.
That actually doesn't surprise me a whole awful lot because you're on the cover of Madden, but you haven't won any. You haven't gotten to the Super Bowl. You can't get over on Mahomes. And these guys talk. They all know. And so maybe some of what he presents as could be viewed by his peers as fraudulent.
Gene Battaglia.
Wow.
That deserves a wow.
Wow.
Yeah?
Wow. That's shocking to me. That is absolute shock. Or maybe it's just, hey, Gene, wake up. Okay, this, in a secret way, this is actually great for the Bills.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
So the executive producer thinks you're being a little bit too soft on the Bills?
Yeah. She's like, don't you see it? Like, this is not going to be a good season. All the warning signs are there. And I hear you. I hear others. I'm not saying this is a Bills team that's going to go and finally get over the hump. I don't see it. They got to show you something big. I just keep going back to two things. One, it's just the comparison in the division. And two, the preseason can do bad things to our judgment. What you saw on the field against Carolina, or no touchdowns in a win in Pittsburgh, laying down to Chicago, it does not matter. They didn't show you anything on offense. So really hard to get a gauge. You got to go back to a little bit of what you saw in the summer at Fisher. So I'm not backing off my 10-7 prediction for the Buffalo Bills, even though, all right, there's people in my circle, all right, namely the executive producer and you, Mr. Danger.
Well, I haven't given my actual prediction yet for the season. I've said multiple times I'm not as high on them as I've been in years past. I don't like a lot of the moves that they made this off season. The only move I liked was the John Perry move to bring in an officiating liaison to help Sean McDermott with challenges, which in the preseason we actually saw benefit of. So I do think that they have made some good moves. Would you consider that former Jets and Dolphins quarterback Mike White could potentially be an upgrade over Mitch Trubisky, especially if Trubisky is still ailing with a knee injury?
Well, at bare minimum, he's an upgrade over Ben DiNucci.
I don't know about that. I mean, Ben DiNucci's a pretty good quarterback because he's Italian.
He's unemployed. Some of the things we were guessing on the practice squad. Ben DiNucci did not come back. Listen, doing a Brandon Beane here.
Listen.
Sean McDermott must be really upset he doesn't have anybody to talk wrestling with anymore. They did not bring back Stevenson on the practice squad.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it feels like every year you've got a story or two, a player or two that becomes a camp darling or a pre-camp story. Stevenson certainly turned heads as a former Olympic gold medalist in heavyweight wrestling. We know how McDermott loves him some wrestlers in the NFL. But, man, I'm telling you, up close, at camp, seeing Stevenson alongside his teammates at that position, he looked small. And I know it sounds silly to say that about a heavyweight gold medal champion in wrestling. He looked small next to Daquan Jones. He looked small next to Ed Oliver, and I don't think Ed Oliver is that big.
it takes a lot here. If we were kind of saying that, but I thought for sure that he's a project and they'll bring him along, and this may be the way. It turned out to be a big nothing for the Buffalo Bills. That's not the only name that didn't get brought back to the practice squad. Not surprising, La'el Collins. Now, maybe they want him back, but Collins is a veteran. He might be just weighing his options.
And you only get 6 of those veteran spots, right?
Right. So for any of these veterans, but a guy who's not a veteran, how many times did the name Justin Shorter come over the last 2 years? Justin Shorter, he could be the guy. Someone even mentioned that he could be the leading receiver. He's not even on the practice squad. Andy Isabella, elevated a couple times last year, not on the practice squad. So a lot of Deion Jones, a linebacker, he didn't get brought back. Again, a veteran who has some options. They did bring back the safety, though. So one of the
Kareem Jackson.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kareem Jackson is back. KJ Hamler is back. You had the Bills going out and getting former Broncos wide receiver Jalen Virgil to add to the practice squad as well.
Although Brandon Beane said that wasn't official.
Official?
Yeah, no, the Bills have not. Somebody
some reports
put this
are out
there that it's happening, but the Bills haven't announced that yet.
Well, they do have Tyrell Shavers back. So if you were on the Shavers train all preseason, your hero is back on the practice squad.
Can I be anti-Shavers? Like, when's it going to get better?
What
are
do
we
you mean,
doing?
Can you? You already are. Everybody knows. They brought back Frank Gore Jr. I think you mentioned that already. Offensive lineman Mike Edwards back. I'm forgetting a bunch of players. But the point is I feel like this exercise every year. We go through it every year on cutdown day. Oh, my God, they can't believe they got rid of this.
Well, every year we're like, if you expose them to waivers, they're going to get snapped up. Here's the facts, folks. Not one bill that was waived got claimed by anybody else. That's a bad sign. For that matter, the Bills didn't pick up anybody off of waivers. So there really hasn't been that 53-man roster juggling, other than the fact that they made that trade yesterday for Brandon Codrington.
We got a couple of notes from around the NFL to get to here, and then I want to get to an email that we got from one of our listeners. And we don't normally highlight emails, but every now and then we'll get one from a listener, and it gets our attention because we get the emails so infrequently. We engage with you on X all the time at The Fan Rochester. You can always watch the Sports Bar on our YouTube channel or on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. But emails are a rare one. We'll get to that in a second. The Steelers did announce that Russell Wilson will get the Week 1 start for Pittsburgh.
Mr. Mayo is going to announce tomorrow. He knows who his starting quarterback is, but he wants to tell the team first. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the Patriots open their season in Cincinnati. I'm not predicting Gene's survivor pick for Week 1, but I have a pretty good feeling that might be the survivor pick for Week 1.
We will reveal that on Tuesday, Danger. We'll go over all the rules.
Oh, yes.
But remember, if you pick Cincinnati, you can't pick them again. And All right,
we're just trying to win one week at a time.
1 week. That's all we need.
James Cook's older brother is back in the NFL. That's Dalvin Cook, Cowboys practice squad signing. Last year, you'll remember, Cook spent time with the Jets. And it's a fall from grace, really, when you consider that he had 4 straight 1,000-yard rushing seasons with the Vikings, 4 straight Pro Bowls from 2019 to 2022. Last year with the Jets, just 214 yards on 67 carries in 15 games. He ended up signing with the Ravens and gained 23 yards on 8 carries in one playoff game.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, at the end of the season, right?
Yeah.
So he is going to sit on the Cowboys practice squad as of right now. Listen, the Cowboys, do you know what's going on with their backfield?
Oh,
Zeke
yeah.
Elliott?
Zeke Elliott.
Everything's
Are you kidding
fine?
me? Everything's fine. Don't worry about age, mileage. Don't worry about it.
Rico Dowell, anybody? Are we okay with that backfield? Our favorite player, whose name sounds like a sports radio caller, has a new home.
I saw this.
Yeah, normally we wouldn't spend time talking about a guy on the practice squad for the Steelers, but it's Boston Scott. Hey, it's Boston Scott. What do you think the Red Sox are going to do the rest of the season? I'll hang up and listen. Thanks, guys.
Boston Scott, what are we doing bringing back Rich Hill for the 4th time? I'm Boston Scott. I'm not happy about that.
He was released by the Rams. They cut their roster down like everybody did yesterday. And Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, Cordero Patterson, all ahead of Boston Scott in the pecking order there in the backfield for the Steelers. And finally, this note from yesterday, and I think this happened while we were on the air yesterday. We touched on it briefly, and maybe that's all it deserves, but NFL owners adopted a rule yesterday allowing limited private equity investment in teams. And I don't know if this is a big story in terms of how the NFL continues to grow in the future, or if there's a big Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
The maximum percentage of a team that can be owned by a private equity fund now is 10%.
This is just a cash grab for anybody who needs it. And if we're just saying, okay, this is what Terry Pegula is going to do, hold on. And again, that report by Tim Graham said a quarter of the franchise would be sold. Okay. Well, this isn't a quarter. The most you could go to private equity would be 10%.
So, yeah, he wouldn't be able to actually get a private equity firm to get a quarter of his franchise. He's going to have to find an actual, like, another partner, right?
Right. So, like, what would 10% of the Buffalo Bills go for today? I would think that, what, $400 million? Easy? Like,
Sure.
that would be 10%?
Yeah.
$4 billion? That's a nice return on investment if you're Terry Pegula.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these private equity firms would love to be a part of these NFL franchises that have done nothing but increase in value. It's one of the safest investments.
Well, that's why, like, you have to be a pre-approved private equity firm.
Yeah, there's only
like,
a handful. There's a list of them.
Yeah, like the NFL isn't going to let somebody cut a deal on the side here.
Yeah.
Like, in other words, you don't have to worry about the public investment fund overseas coming in here.
No, there's
like
a pre-approved list
Yeah.
of funds that they've got targeted. Very interesting. All right, mention this, and if you're just joining us, this happened earlier in the show when we started off earlier today at 3 o'clock. Mention that we got an email from a listener, from Sean in Long Island. And from time to time, we'll get an email. We're not hard to find. Mike.Danger at Odyssey. He's Gene.Battaglia at Odyssey. I mean, we engage with you more frequently on social media because it's just in front of us here while we're live on the air. It's an easier way to get a hold of us. But if you really, really have something that you want us to dwell on or to get our attention, send us an email, and in the subject line, do what Sean in Long Island did, say, promotion from the peasantry. When I saw that, I'm like, oh,
what is this?
Whoa, okay. Let's see what this is about. Sean writes, guys, I've been listening to your show in the Odyssey app for a while now. I really appreciate the job you do each day. I'm a Rochesterian living in Long Island, and I hear you talk about your regulars often. Pete the Pollster, Greg, Chuck Munchia, Chris in South Central Kentucky. I'm unable to get home often with my job and family, and I know your listeners like to have fun with you guys when you're out on the air. Social media isn't for me, so I won't be reaching out on X either. I can't shower you guys with gifts, but I did want to send you something I made in your honor with the hopes of being elevated from the peasantry to a sports bar regular. I hope you enjoy the long weekend. Cheers, boys. Keep up the great work. Now, it's an MP3 attached to his email that up until around 3 o'clock this afternoon, I had not heard, Gene had not heard. So we unveiled it for the first time earlier. What Sean sent us is going to be historic here in the sports bar. This was the attachment.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Gene's a big timer, a social misfit. Clueless to the title of the biggest buskeg hits. Chuck Munchie's goons have the last say. So thanks for your time, Mr. Mayo. Danger likes his cold ones and he likes his bears. But this is Rochester, cute Francesa.
Oh, who cares?
He's critical of Sean, he's critical of Alan. Of course he married Sandy, cause she's Italian. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
My God.
Whoa.
I think we have a theme song, boys.
Wow.
I think we have a theme song, courtesy of Sean in Long Island, who is no longer in the peasantry, one of our regulars. Sean in Long Island.
Assuming we have permission to use that, that's got to open the show every day, right?
I mean, it feels like it belongs as part of our as part of our presentation. Yes, he nailed it. He nailed it.
The Bears, who cares?
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm aware. I get it. We're not a Chicago Bears show.
Oh, who cares?
But every now and then I want somebody to indulge me. Just tell me. Tell me everything's going to be okay. Tell this insecure Bears fan that everything's going to be okay.
Oh, who cares?
You want to hear more about the Bills. We'll talk more about the Bills. Don't worry.
Okay, so that's the third time I've heard that. I think I've got all the jokes down. And I think, Sean, I'd ask the question to Sean. Hopefully we get a chance to talk to him offline. He mentions, I don't want to be critical, everything but masterstroke, but then I realize, is that kind of fading out here? That's another inside joke.
Yeah, absolutely. It absolutely is fading out. He moved down to Florida. He's now a Buccaneers fan. And I'm kidding. He's not a Buccaneers fan. He'll always be a Bills fan.
No, but I can
he's
see
in
him.
He's in Bucks land. He's in Bucks territory.
No, to your point, though, he hit us with Champa Bay. I'm like, ugh.
He did say that.
Yeah, that's gross.
He did say that.
Did you not forget who you are and where you came from?
Yeah. I threw up a little in my mouth the first time he hit me with that. You've changed, pal. You've changed. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. He didn't mention Master. It sounds like Sean's been paying very close attention over the course of the last 12 to 24 months. Some pretty good references there from the last few months. You not realizing that Boz Scaggs' big hit, Lido Shuffle, wasn't actually called Leo Shuffle.
Leo Shuffle. Yeah. That was me on the air saying we should play Leo Shuffle for Mike Leone, who has the nickname Leo, the new head coach of the Amerks. And that was quite embarrassing to make that admission.
The he's Italian thing, I mean, really that picked up when Tommy Cutlets was starting games for the Giants last year. I mean, that was an easy.
Yeah, and we brought it back with Danucci.
Hey, and now it's like anytime something happens, we talk about a guy whose name ends in a vowel, we're going to say good things about him. Of course, we're going to prop him up because he's Italian. Got to do the fingers, too, the hand gesture. That's the emphasis that goes with it. Yeah, that's some good stuff. So, Sean, yeah, you've arrived, pal. You're no longer in the peasantry, as we lovingly call our listeners. You're in the upper echelon of sports bar regulars. Mm-hmm. You are one of our regulars. Congratulations. That is some fine work by our guy. And a lot of reaction from earlier today, that the first time we heard that. I think we all kind of heard it at the same time, and we're like, whoa, what is this? This is different. This is fresh. This is new. Courtesy of our buddy Sean in Long Island.
Great job, Sean. Great job.
We should mention that tomorrow on the show, one of our favorites is going to be stopping by, and I love the timing of this as well, Gino.
Chris Trapasso, CBS Sports, says, all right, the Bills have a 53. Maybe they tweak it along the line, but can we evaluate some of these players? Can we go? I mean, I think we could have a Dorian Williams discussion with him. I think some of these guys on the back end, tell us about Casey Toohill. He's somebody, Chris Trapasso, who studies all these guys as part of his draft prep. So what's the state of the Bills roster right now, the 53? We'll ask the expert there. You know, we have our opinions, but we'll kind of ask Chris to kind of grade it for us.
I feel bad. We didn't get a chance to catch up with him at training camp. He might have been there on a weekend day when we weren't there live. But this will be our preseason check-in with CBS Sports. Chris Trapasso does a great job also when he covers and fills in on One Bills Live. So he'll be stopping by the sports bar tomorrow afternoon at 4:25, and we'll not just talk about the Bills' final 53-man roster. We'll look at some of these guys on the practice squad that could have a chance at elevation here through the course of the season, their strengths, their weaknesses. Chris knows it all, and he'll be stopping by. If you missed Brad Evans from BetMGM Tonight, the new co-host of BetMGM Tonight here on The Fan starting Tuesday. If you missed PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network, both of those conversations are available for you now wherever you get your podcasts. Just search out the Sports Bar, and that includes the free-to-download Odyssey app, AUDACY.
You want to take a guess who has the average highest get-in price in the NFL this season? And I'll give you one hint. It's not a major market. So you're thinking the Cowboys? No.
It's not a major market.
No.
Give me a second. I'm going to go with Vegas.
Vegas is actually number 2 on the list. Vegas at 243.
Okay.
So the Raiders, and it makes sense, right? That's the destination. So when the Bills go there, and I forget the rotation, but hey, let's go, and you're going to pay whatever it is, and you'll love paying it. So that's good on the Raiders and good on that secondary market out there. If you're wondering where the Bills check in on this, 8th. So there still is a lot of enthusiasm for the Buffalo Bills here.
I mean, we remember it wasn't long ago that they weren't even in consideration. It was like the last in terms of what they brought in, their profitability, their value, their ticket price, average ticket price, all of that stuff.
I'll give you the bottom 5 here. Average price, $71 for the Buccaneers, $65 for the Panthers. I thought they would have been last. Arizona, $58. Jacksonville, $48. Dead last, New Orleans at 43. New Orleans is kind of a smallish market, and there's not a lot of enthusiasm. To answer the question, the team that has the highest resale right now is because their fans are over the moon, and you heard Brad Evans last hour predict this team would win the Super Bowl, the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. Well, you said it wasn't a major market. I consider Detroit a major market.
Do you?
I think they're a top 5 market.
No.
No. Certainly top 10. Certainly a top 10 market. But, yeah, that shouldn't surprise any of us. They've become a hot commodity now.
14.
14?
Yep.
Jesus. How much did the auto industry kill this town? My God.
I'm going by TV market.
Okay. Radio market might be different. But
all right. TV market,
I thought it was a top 10 radio market.
No, it's still 14 for radio, too.
What do I know? So disconnected. But those Lions, Brad Evans predicting that they're going to win the Super Bowl, that this is the year.
The team's ahead of the Buffalo Bills in terms of ticket price resale. Lions number 1, Raiders 2, Eagles 3, 49ers. See a train here too. 5 is the Bears.
Yeah.
5 is the Bears, Danger. So you want to go out there, you're going to have to pay. The Packers, the Bengals, and then the Bills. The Bills are actually tied with they're tied with Dallas and Pittsburgh. Who would have thought?
Well, you have a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
If you have a franchise quarterback, it can cure a lot. It takes care of a lot of problems. Throw your franchise quarterback at a lot of problems, and they go away. That's great. That's great that the Bills are in the top 10 there.
Which, okay, they're in the top 10 for that, but tell us how the PSL sales are going.
We'll never know. They're never going to share that information with us. We'll never know if there's any sort of desperation to fill seats. I mean, we know that week 1 or night 1 of that new venue is going to be.
Here's what I know. Okay, we have somebody. I don't want to say undercover, but I'm sure they would not be happy because for some reason with the media, you have to sign non-disclosures. Are you kidding me? You're a Buffalo TV station. Whatever you learn and you go and you see it, you have to sign a line. Danger and I haven't done that, so we can talk freely what we know about this. We have somebody that is going the Friday, this Friday, right before Labor Day weekend. Okay. And the reason that they did that is, hey, we live in Rochester, and I have to take a half day off of work. Might as well do it when it's going to be kind of quiet. So they're going out there. But the tell to me was that this appointment was set sometime during training camp. And what this person reported to us, the Bills ticket department called back the next day after the appointment was set. Listen, we really need you to come down.
Was that Brandon Bean, huh?
Can you come down tomorrow? Because these tickets are going to go. And if we wait 3 weeks, you might miss out. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah, the pitch.
What will it take to get you into this car today?
Yeah.
There's like every bad car salesman technique. And this person was just laughing like, no, you can wait there until August 30th.
The hard sell.
Yeah.
The hard sell.
So we'll find out after Labor Day weekend how that.
What's the other part that you always talk about, the fear of loss?
Yes,
the fear of loss.
Fear of loss. Well, hey, if you don't act now, it might be gone. Yeah.
Yeah. This seat is only available for a limited time, and if you don't sign in the line which is dotted, we can't promise that you will ever have this experience again.
Because only one thing counts in this life. Get them to sign on the line which is dotted.
For a limited time. Is it really limited? Tell me.
Terry Pagula walking around One Bill's Drive like Alec Baldwin and Glenn Ross.
These are the good leads.
Hit the bricks, pal, and beat it because you are going out.
Giving motivational speeches to his reps.
Always be closing.
See, you should be in sales, Danger. You'd be perfect for it.
Because we're adding a little something to this month's sales contest. As you all know, first prize is a Cadillac Eldorado. Anybody want to see second prize? Second prize is a set of steak knives. Third prize is you're fired.
I love when somebody finishes in second place. I can always trot out the line. Well, congratulations. You can cut a fillet with the steak knives you just won. Nice job, loser. Win something. Second prize is a set of steak knives. Third prize, you're fired. The best. Yeah, so that's a peek. It's a peek behind the curtain there at the Buffalo Bills experience. You got Alec Baldwin with brass balls hanging out. It takes brass balls to sell PSLs. That's what it takes.
But on the other hand, you and I know somebody. I paid $8,000. It was
whatever makes you happy. I'm not here to judge. I just think it's insane. I think it's insane that there are people that will get quadruple dipped on by the NFL. I'm not blaming the Pagulas. This is the way business is done in the NFL. And they're following the template to the letter. And there are people that will absolutely invest in it. Great. I can't make sense of it. I cannot make sense of it. But if that's a value to you and you think that is, our friend who did make that investment is like, yeah, go with every game with my son. Like, that's fantastic. That's your thing.
Right. You made the money. Spend it how you want.
That's right. Hope you paid for it in cash. But that's another topic. We're not going to get into finances. Now, shots on the way next in the sports bar.
Yeah, one of Danger's favorites, LeBron. He's got to take as we are approaching NBA season.
By the way, there's an ad now for one of the sports books with LeBron. I don't know if you caught this or not, but it's Kevin Hart basically busting on LeBron for being an old guy. You're like, oh yeah, you're gonna, you're 40 now. They want somebody who can run a 40, not who is 40. What are you gonna do when and I thought of you. He's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna, when somebody does something good, you're gonna give them a caramel candy, a caramel candy that's out of your pocket, a butterscotch candy out of your pocket that's out of the wrapper. That's nasty, by the way.
That could have been in the song there, the Werther's thing, where originally. See, this is what I learned early on doing this show. Originally, I said I like Werther's, and then I made the mistake saying I never said that, lied on the air, and then people called me out on that lie.
That's right.
Yeah, so I learned that really early on. You can't.
Yeah, you got to put your name on it. Got to own it. All right, Sean, you heard it. Let's get another version. Maybe we can get multiple versions of the show open and talk about Werther's originals in the show open. Anyways, I interrupted you. LeBron James is coming up in shots.
Yes, LeBron James, couple of baseball games today that were two bad losses for the teams involved. And, hey, I always admire athletes who figure out what they want to do after they retire. This guy in hockey is doing something really interesting.
All right, that's coming up with a round of shots. Last call before 6 o'clock at 866-4326. You can have the final say in the sports bar. 585-866-4FAN.
You're listening.
Frank Gore Jr., Tyrell Shavers, KJ Hamler amongst the Buffalo Bills brought back to the practice squad today. Also on the practice squad is former Jets and Dolphins quarterback Mike White. Bills GM Brandon Beane on picking up White.
I'm excited that we were able to get Mike. You never know how it's going to turn out, where guys are going to land, and we recruited him hard to get him on this P squad. And, Mitch is still working his way back. Truly unknown yet whether Mitch will be ready to play week 1. So it's great we get Mike in here now.
The Bills did not bring back Justin Shorter and Lale Collins amongst the Buffalo Bills cut out there looking for work. Curtis Samuel, MV Best, both back at practice today for the Buffalo Bills in full pads. Rochester Red Wings lost the opener in Scranton. Staying 2 teams tonight in Eastern PA. The Wings are back home on Labor Day. Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey is your home for all the audio that matters to you. Download the Odyssey app today to listen to the Sports Leader, the Fan, Rochester.
You're back in the Sports Bar, Rochester's only local sports talk show. Thanks for joining us this afternoon at 95.7 FM, AM 950. The free to download Odyssey app. Our streams are up on our YouTube channel and on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. It's time for a round of shots.
So LeBron James has a simple rule for his son, Bronny. In the workplace, you are not to call him dad.
Okay.
Speaking on the shop, LeBron, which, okay, that makes sense, but here's the quote. I want to get Danger's reaction. Bronny can't call me dad in the workplace. He's got to call me 2-3 or Bron or GOAT if he wants to.
Oh, my God.
Can't be running down the court like, Dad, I'm open.
Oh, my God. All right, so I've got a lot of thoughts on this here. Calling him Braun or calling him 2-3, I'm actually okay with that. If you're a teammate, calling him GOAT, settle down. That
call me GOAT.
So that's you went over the line. But this is what LeBron does when
you're a real teammate. Other guys are saying "old man," right?
Yeah, right. So I guess I'm okay with everything except for the part where he says you can call me GOAT. Like, you're just throwing that out there. Stop, LeBron. Stop.
Yeah, we're just over a month away from the NBA preseason opening, which is on October the 4th. Danger, sticking with the NBA, I'm not a fan of Russell Westbrook. I don't like his style. I think he's a good stat compiler, but he's never won anything. Well, maybe this year he'll win something if he accepts his new role with the Denver Nuggets. Denver's pretty good, right? Upon arriving, the initial report had Westbrook asking Denver's Christian Braun if he could have his number 0. To which Braun said, no. And as the story went, Westbrook was pissed about this. Well, the veteran has since taken to social media to say this isn't true and that he'll wear number 4 in Denver, looking at this like a new beginning.
Yeah, which if he had to take to social media, he was pissed. It does bother him. And just zero respect for what Westbrook brings to the table. Can I have your number? I'm a veteran player. I've got these massive stats through my course of time. No.
I'm a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Top 75. No,
not happening. And let me just quickly go back to LeBron for a second, because for as critical as I am of that guy, it's not really about his play. I always say, when it's all said and done, at worst, he's the second best player in NBA history. So you can't dispute that. I just and he says things like this, and it's just corny. That's the problem I have with him. Like, he's clearly there for his kids, right? Like, he's there. He's a good dad. He cares, and he'll do whatever he has to do.
Well, the people think this is unsavory, strong-arming position on the roster for my son.
Absolutely unsavory, and most people can't do it. But you know who can? GOAT can do it. GOAT can do it.
Why the Pirates today? Paul Skeens, when he left, they had a 10-5 lead. Skeens today, 5 innings pitched, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, 6 Ks. Okay, and they kept this pitch count down low, 82. 10-5 was the score in the 6th then. The Cubs scored 2 in the 7th, 3 in the 8th, 6 in the 9th, 14-10 the final over the Pirates, 2 teams that are out of it.
Imagine being at PNC Park as a Pirate fan, there to see Skeens, there to see this team get a win against a division rival. And that happens. Ugh.
Now, where that game has nothing to do with the playoffs, this one did. And Kansas City in this game up by a score of 5-2, but then the Guardians put up 4 in the 7th, 1 in the 8th. Cleveland winning 7-5. So with that, coming out of this series, Cleveland leaves the series with a 1-game lead over Kansas City. Kansas City, the Yankees are the hottest team in baseball over the last month, but Kansas City's right there. The Royals 75-59 on the season.
Repeat the part about the Yankees being the hottest team in baseball in the last month, because that's when you talk to Yankee fans and when you listen to them talk about this team, you wouldn't know that right now they are the hottest team in the major league.
I think maybe Yankees fans are kind of coming aware. Yes, in the last 27 games, which is roughly the month, if you're going to just kind of cut it that way, they have the best record in baseball. And my gosh, just watching them Monday night with Nestor Cortez and how he was all fired up on the mound and everything. Like, as long as Judge is hitting and Stanton is there to protect them, that is a lineup. For all its flaws, maybe this is the year for the Yankees.
Yeah, and could you connect dots here when you look at how the season has gone from an injury point of view? You were without Stanton there during that lull. When Stanton came back, things got better. You started off hot when Stanton was healthy. And so maybe Stanton is that key in that lineup. If you don't have Stanton, everything kind of falls apart.
Well, talking about another contender in the American League, Houston's leaving in Philadelphia on getaway day 6-0. They're in the bottom of the 6th. Seattle, they're playing out the string now. They're leading Tampa 5-1 in the 6th. Texas leading the White Sox. This is the completion of a suspended game from last night. It's the Rangers 1, the White Sox 0. As the White Sox entering tonight's doubleheader, essentially 70 games below 500, Danger, 31-101, the record on the season.
Come on, boys. We want greatness. Worst team ever, except no substitutes.
Let's get 20 more losses on the books. You can do it.
Because we're adding a little something to this month's sales contest. As you all know, first prize is a Cadillac Eldorado. Anybody want to see second prize? Second prize is a set of steak knives. Third prize is you're fired.
Yeah, we don't want the steak knives for the White Sox. We want that Cadillac Eldorado.
Now you got to be in the mood to watch that movie. So
I don't necessarily like the entirety of that movie, but some of the scenes in that movie are so memorable. The Baldwin scene is great. Pacino scene with Spacey is great. There's just a couple of really memorable scenes of dialogue in that movie where it's like, ooh, this is a quotable film.
Jessica Pegula won her opening match at the U.S. Open, 6-3, 6-4 over Shelby Rogers. She'll face another American tomorrow in the second round named Sophia Kenin. Tonight, center court, 7 o'clock, defending champ and third seed Coco Gauff taking on German Tatiana Maria. That is on ESPN, again at 7 o'clock. We don't talk much about endurance events. Not much to talk about. It's impressive, certainly, but this caught our attention, Danger. Competing in the upcoming World Ironman Championship Triathlon is none other than former NHL defenseman Zdeno Chara.
Yeah.
Says Chara, quote, being immersed in the endurance sports community has been one of the most rewarding aspects of my post-hockey athletic journey. To review, Chara takes on the 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and then you run the marathon. Chara, leading up to this, he qualified by doing it in 10 hours, 48 minutes. The World Ironman is coming up Kona, Hawaii in October.
These are things that I can only dream of doing. I'm insanely jealous of these specimens. They are freaks. But I get what he's saying here. I mean, that has to feel like one of the most rewarding aspects of your life, not just what you're doing post-NHL hockey. I mean, these are amazing accomplishments and fantastic individuals accomplishing these feats. I raise a glass to them. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I have a friend actually who used to come out to trivia, and they do, the triathlon, the training that goes into that. You're talking like a year.
I think if you train for any sort of ultra marathon or Ironman competition, because you can train for a marathon. You could be. I've run marathons. I've trained for marathons. I know what that time commitment. But when you start talking about the time commitment for an ultra marathon or for one of these endurance events, you become un-F-withable in life if you stick with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody kind of views you through a different lens, almost as if to say you're a psycho, but not in a bad way. Like, oh, we're not going to get in the way of you chasing that ultra marathon that you're training for. I think it really makes you, in in society un-F-withable.
The swim, the long bike ride, the marathon. Which one's the toughest leg?
I mean, I can't imagine swimming 2.4
I
miles.
can't even imagine swimming 1 mile.
I don't know what that even.
Like-
I can't process that. If I do a lap in the pool, I feel like I'm going to die. So that's a different level of training that I've never attempted. And so the thought of a 2.4 mile swim, when I hear a 112 mile bike ride, I don't think about my legs being sore. I think about my culo being sore, man. I'm like, oh, that's a long time to be sitting on a bike seat.
Yeah, boy, this is something that's fascinating because then you think, 112 miles, you could bike that easy.
I don't think so.
103 miles from Rochester, Verona. 113 miles, Binghamton.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to bike ride to Binghamton.
That's right.
And then run a marathon.
That's right. Good stuff. Eddie, by the way, did it in 10 hours and 48 minutes. No big deal. Fantastic. We're going to take a break. Come back. Last call is next. 866-4326 if you want to join us. 585-866-4FAN.
AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
What a fun afternoon here in the Flower City. Talking sports on the Fan Rochester, the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. We've got a theme song, boys. Kind of excited about what Sean from Long Island presented with us. Thanks for listening in the free-to-download Odyssey app, Sean. And thank you for the theme song. We'll be showcasing that regularly, I have a feeling, here every afternoon on the Fan.
Good stuff there. Thank you, Sean. 866-4326-8664-FAN. Last call is for you in the sports bar. John in Rochester. Welcome, buddy.
Hey, guys. Hey, that's a great theme song. I love it. But listen, guys, we're going to go far. I am pumped up, and I'll tell you why. We've got, of course, Josh Allen. You know, the secret to our offense this year, other than Josh, is going to be Kincaid. I think Kincaid is a poor man's Travis Kelce, and he's going to shine. The other positive we got are defensive line. We got some seasoned veterans now: Espinoza, Oliver, Jones, Russo. I'm telling you guys, we're going all the way. Super Bowl or bust. That's my theme. And the other thing, Tyler Bass is going to have a huge year.
Boy, John, now you're always go one too far. We know you're trolling a little bit, and then you go with Tyler Bass is going to have a huge year. Okay, John.
Brandon Bean was asked about Tyler Bass today, and he went to he's a veteran where, he gets a little more of a rope, essentially. Okay, that's why they didn't bring in another kicker.
Oh, when he loses a game, we'll see how much rope he has. And I predict that he will lose. He will cost the Bills at least one game this year. Early.
Yeah, the ball doesn't look the same. It doesn't pass the eye test.
It didn't look the same in practice throughout the summer at training camp. It hasn't looked. Yeah, every report has said that it just doesn't look right for Tyler Bass. And you know what? Now is the time to tweak it if you want to tweak it, because the games don't count. But you better be damn sure that when the game is on the line, you got ice in your veins and you're hitting the field goals you need to hit. We didn't see in the preseason, especially in that last game against Carolina. It's a 51-yarder. You got to hit it. In the regular season, you're going to just miss 51-yarders? No, you need to hit a 51-yarder in the preseason.
Well, the 50-yarder isn't what it used to be. That's commonplace for these kickers today.
That's right. Tomorrow on the show, we'll talk about the Buffalo Bills' final 53-man roster. We'll talk about the Bills' practice squad with CBS Sports' Chris Trapasso, one of our favorites, stopping by the sports bar at 425. If you missed Brad Evans, new co-host on BetMGM tonight, starting next week here on The Fan, or PJ Glasser, the host of Send It In on the BetQL Network. Find those conversations wherever you pod. Just search out the sports bar and you'll find us. JR Sport Brief next on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.